So Lead Connector mobile app is not hard at all to use. It's very simple. So I wouldn't keep them away from the app. I mean, like I've got lawn care landscaping guys that they get the app and they master it within a week. Like very, very easy. So the app is
Hmm.
not hard. The question should be, how do I keep it as easy as possible for them? So that way they're not overwhelmed, they don't leave, right? They actually stay using the piece, right?
Hmm. Because our biggest thing is like they're most likely not going to use the invoicing or the estimates because they got the house call pro, they got the service titan, right?
So this
So
is
like,
this is a really this is a conversation I had with a with an agency owner yesterday, and what I was telling the agency owner is the same thing I'll tell you, and it's gonna sound like beyond stupid, okay? So just keep that in mind. But when it comes to what you think people will do or won't do, the best thing that you can do is not make any assumptions. Even if you think it's like the most obvious thing ever, don't make the assumption. So there's a, if you go read Hacking Growth by Sean Ellis, he talks about like, it's a really, really like comprehensive book on how to collect data, right? And he basically says like everything you should do when you're growing any business is collect data, everything you do. And he walks through like every major business that has scaled with zero or very little capital investiture. Basically, like they bootstrapped it, right? And he says all they do every time is they just look at the data, right? So if you look at PayPal, for example, PayPal looked at their data and they said, who is our number one buyer? Or who's our number one user? And it was eBay. They only had like 20,000 people on eBay, right? And so what they ended up doing is they ended up making the platform for eBay, who eventually bought PayPal, right? And so when they made the platform for eBay, because people were sharing and they were inviting each other based on the fact that they were all using it to buy and sell remotely back in the late 90s, it went through the roof. Like it just skyrocketed through the roof, right? If you look at Yelp, so this is an example like of what you are probably going through. If you look at Yelp, I think they opened in like '01, '02, right? When Yelp went live, they had a ton of features for small businesses, a ton. And the one feature that everybody loved that they thought was the stupidest feature was the review process. They thought that was the stupidest thing. They were like, it's so small, it's obsolete, like nobody cares, right? When they looked at their data, they were like, oh my gosh, everybody's using it. So they literally canned, they looked at the data, they said, let's can everything but what they're using. And they were like really nervous to do it because, again, they thought this is so stupid. Boom, Yelp shot through the roof. Huge business, right? Overnight success, right? All they're doing is looking at the data. So what Sean Ellis talks about is he says, when you're looking at the data, don't read anything but the data. So for example, if you're like, well, they're not going to use the invoicing feature. Why? And that's not to put you down. That's like just to show you like how stupid almost you have to get with this. It's like, well, how do we know that? And then it's like, well, I wouldn't use it. Okay, great. Now, why would you not use it? Well, I wouldn't use it because why would I use it when I have this? It's like, okay, great. Well, if you're using Jobber, Service Titan, Service Mate, House Call Pro, or Lead Connector, why would you pick one over the other? Well, if I send an invoice on these, do I have automated follow-ups? Do I have, when the payment's completed, do I automatically get a review? Do I automatically have, not even just a review, do I automatically have an internal survey that filters out bad reviews, tells my guys to collect pictures just by clicking a button? Does it tell them to fill out surveys? Does it tell them to get a signature from the client? So that way, if the client signs off on it, we know they can't leave a bad review. If they don't sign off on it, let's fix it before we leave. And then they leave a bad review, right? Can they do that? And the thing is like, oh, well, it can do that. It's like, oh, well, now we have ammunition to say, hey, you already know how to send an invoice here. We're just going to use it on this platform, very similar. So if you can tell them like, hey, it's a very simple feature. Here's a walkthrough of how to do it. Like for example, Grant and I sent like our clients a 2 minute video, and in the 2 minute video, we show them how to use three calendars. We show them how to do three different payment methods, right? So you can send them like 30-second videos on here's how to do this, right? And so once you do that, all the automations can fire off. So they're still in their app, but now they don't have to get in their app to ask for a view. Now they don't have to get in their app to ask for a follow-up. Now they don't have to get in their app to do this or that, right? And so what I would do is I would say, do you have a third party CRM? That'd be my first question. Like, what are you using to manage your jobs? If they're like, I'm using JobTread, I'm using House Call Pro, I'm using whatever platform, you can say, great. Are you using the payment processor with it? And they're going to say yes. And you can say, okay, what's the payment process? Because if you have, for example, if you go with Jobber, right? Jobber might tell you, hey, make a stripe or make a Squarespace or make a square, right? Whatever it is. And then they go, okay, well, I have the payment process. Like, hey, if you have that payment processor, we can add it over here. You can have it on both platforms actually. And you can actually start using it with this one and see how you like it. So there's a lot of ways to like I'm not saying you have to have them get rid of it, but I wouldn't get rid of I wouldn't say, hey, they're not going to use it.
Hmm.
I would let them tell me like, hey, what are you using? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? And if you hear more dislikes than likes, let's move over. If they're like, hey, I only use it for the on the go invoicing. I hate everything else it does. It's like, hey, we can do that. Why don't we show you? Once you like it, then let's drop the other one. And then that will save you between 170 and $300, right? Depending on your plan size. And we
Yeah.
only switch it when you're confident. So
So
it
my
sounds
other,
so stupid. I'm telling you, it sounds so
yeah,
dumb, but it's like let the numbers tell you. So he says first, let the numbers tell you, and second, let their mouth tell you. Now
yeah.
go with the numbers over the mouth, okay? But go with the numbers, then the mouth. But if you have to pick one, I would go numbers first. But the mouth is so easy because it's just like, hey, what do you like about it? I like this. Hey, why are you guys leaving? We're leaving because of this. Hey, like, what do you think of my friend? Right, right. It's like basic dating, right? It's like talking to anybody, right? It's just communicate. So if you can look at the numbers, because the behavior is going to beat words, right? If you say, hey, Alec, I really like you, and then you punch me in the face, I'm going to go with your behavior over your words, right? Now, if you punch me in the face, but you had a glove on, oh, we might be boxing, might be playing, right? So I have to look at the data strictly. Then I have to look at the words. So you're like, hey, I punched you in the face. Why did you punch me in the face? I punched you in the face because you said ABC. Oh, okay. So now I can go off the data, and the data tells me there's actually an underlying problem, right? So look at the
But
data and then
the
talk.
words would be quicker to get the data.
The
Like
words will
so
definitely be quicker
yeah,
up front. Once you have a full agent, think about this. Once you have, let's say you have 100 clients, 200 clients, 1,000 clients. Now it's faster for me to schedule 15-minute interviews or to send out 1,000 surveys and wait for the responses, or for me to just look at the numbers. You guys are not using this. So in the
yeah.
beginning, yes, for you, Word is faster. But one of the big things I try to do with my clients is when we first set up the system, I say, hey, we're going to track the data from day one because you're not going to day one, you're not going to have much data. Day two, you're not going to have enough data. Day 30, you'll have a little data. Day 90, you'll have such a better, more clear picture. Day 300, you're going to have a really good picture. And when you start getting into year two, year three, year four, and you can do those year to year comparisons, now it's like, wow, we have really seen what's working, what's not working, right?
Mhm.
But in the beginning, you're exactly right. Mouth is faster, which is why I say when you speak with your clients, just talk with them. What do you like about this? What do you like about that? If you're saying, hey, we have a payment processor, what would you think about switching over? What would make you nervous about switching over? Because now they're going to tell you, well, I would love if I could do this, but I'm worried about doing that. So then you go, hey, well, we can do what you love. And the thing you're nervous about, we're going to make it really easy. Like, I'm worried it's going to be a steep learning curve. We're going to have a walkthrough video and pictures. Like a child could learn it. Okay. What if I get stuck? Call us anytime. We'll walk you through it. Oh, okay. How long does it take to master? It's so simple. After your first 5 people, you'll be really good. Oh, okay. That was just what I was nervous about. And like just having that 30-second conversation just on the payment processor piece, it's like, oh wow, that 30-second conversation leads to them being more comfortable. They move over and now you're saving them 300 a month. And they're using your payment processor, you're hand holding them. Who else is going to do that? So they're going to have, if
Yeah.
they ever leave, they're going to have to find somebody who's doing the same level of hand holding that you're doing, basically.
Well, like the hand holding will be there because the Zapier triggers and shit like that. But what I'm trying to get at is how do we make it so comfortable for the client where if they're comfortable with their current invoicing and it's working,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
need for them to switch over, right? Like this just they're not going to want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So can we still use their invoicing structure on like House Call Pro and every time it gets updated in their CRM, it updates in Lead Connector?
Yep. So what you do is, let's do an invoice. Invoice sent in, let's say House Call Pro. Invoice sent.
Yeah.
Zap action needs to move the GHL lead in the pipeline to invoice sent. Then the GHL automation would be invoice sent stage. So the stage, not the actual invoice, because you're not using invoices. So once it's in that stage, it would then trigger, let's say, wait 2 days, then initiate the follow up. Once again, Zapier, once in-house call pro invoice is paid, zaps it to move over into the GHL stage, invoice paid. The GHL automation says, now that you're in this stage, number one, remove them from the follow-up process because they're already paying. Number two, send them maybe you do need or maybe you don't need a payment confirmation depending on what House Call Pro has, and maybe just have a hey, here's a next steps thing. Next steps is book on the Lead Connector app, or next steps is maybe it notifies the team, hey, next step, go ahead and collect your the date you want to visit on site to do this, right? Or if it's the final payment, let's say not a down deposit but a final payment, then it would say next step, send an internal survey. Internal survey says, how did the job go? take before after pictures. By the way, was the client happy? If the client was happy, sign off. If the client signs off, great, we will ask them for reviews and referrals. If the client does not sign off, most likely they're not happy. So figure out what's wrong, fix it via a punch list, right? Or I don't know the
Hmm.
HVAC term, but because I work mostly with construction guys, so a punch list,
Yeah.
right? So what you would
And
do is basically whatever action happens in House Call Pro, use the Zap to move it into stages in GHL. And if you need actions taken, fire them off. Even
okay,
if you
so
don't
that's
need
what,
actions taken, track it because then you can have the reporting from GHL and that gives them a really, really clear picture of what's going on in their business.
yeah. So do the Zaps, so would we have to structure the House Call Pro opportunity pipeline, or can we just like migrate that
Nope.
into the
You
lead?
wouldn't have
Okay.
to, yeah, you wouldn't have to. All you'd have to do is you would have to have your GHL pipeline to mirror the process. And then whatever action in-house call pro will determine what stage it's in. So for example, if I send you an invoice, what am I going to do? I'm waiting for the invoice to be paid. Because I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the invoice to be paid, I want to start reminding you every couple of days until you pay it. Once it's paid, next stage, that's the next thing that's happened. I'm going to stop reminding you, remove from workflow, and I'm going to go into my next process. Maybe it's just a one-step automation. They paid, stop reminding them. Done.
Hmm.
So
And the
basically,
calendars can get, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. Basically, for like lead connector, like let's go. I'll show you what I mean in Zapier because Zap is like really cool, but you'll see like if some people are like, oh, it's really restricted with high level. It's actually not if you know how to do it. So I'll show you how to do it. So let's go to product apps and let's do House Call Pro. So I'm going to do House Call Pro first because if you put it first versus Lead Connector next, it will basically do trigger to action. So now I'm going to say pick an app to pair with Lead Connector. So you see how it puts it in the trigger?
Hmm.
New completed job, new scheduled job. So let's scroll down. This is what I look for, all their examples, right? Let's go to a little more. Okay. Add contacts in Lead Connector for a new completed job in House Call Pro. So let's say you're just doing review requests. You would use this. When a contact is moved into Lead Connector from a completed job in House Call Pro, that's going to then have a GHL automation that says new contact created, ask for review, right? Now, that's a very, very simple. I wouldn't do it that way because you're asking everybody for review. I wouldn't do it that way, but you can see why it's their most popular, right? So let's go here, right here. Create opportunities in Lead Connector for new scheduled jobs. So maybe that is in House Call Pro, the job has been scheduled. So what would the stage be in GHL? In GHL, it would be job scheduled. And then maybe I have a nurture sequence like, hey, you scheduled a job. Here's what to expect. Here's when we're going to be here. We'll let you know if we're running late. If anything changes, hit follow up, right? And maybe you do a instant day before, morning of, right? So that would be an example. But you can see here, it's always create lead connector opportunities. It's always create opportunities because if you look at the actions, watch. Here it is. If you go to the actions, watch. I bet you the only action we're gonna have in GHL, look, update contact, add task. That's not bad. But usually most platforms they only have this one, add update opportunity. So what I
Hmm.
do is I say, hey, if I can only use adding or updating opportunities, I need that to be my trigger because that's the only thing I can use, right? So how do I use that as my trigger? I just want to track the life cycle of what the client is going through. So for example, if you're
Okay.
like House Call Pro says we booked a job, I want to say, hey, in GHL, we booked a job. Now that we've booked a job, what do I want to do? I want to prepare them. Once they've paid or once the job is completed, what do I want to do? I want to notify them, hey, we're done, time for you to pay. Once they've paid, what do I want to do? I want to say, hey, I'm going to stop reminding you, next steps, you've paid, let's do a post-job walkthrough or let's do a review request, right? You've done a review request, great, let's wait 7 days, let's get a referral. Because if you left a 5-star review, odds that you'll send us a referral are probably pretty high, right? You send me a referral. What do I do? I'm going to tag you as a dream client. I'm going to run promotions around you. So Lead Connector acts as that sales piece. The House Call Pro acts as that just the job management piece.
Yeah, and
So
that's what we want to target because they're most likely comfortable with what they're using. And yeah, we got to collect the data. I get that. But from what we've heard is they're comfortable with what they're using. They don't really want to learn another software. Um,
yeah, and
but can it work? Yeah, go ahead.
you're probably right to a degree. And I actually in my building I actually work with a guy who does product development for like these huge like Fortune 500 companies. And like he and I were laughing last night because the problems that you would expect a small business to have, right? Like I don't like they don't use a CRM, they don't want to switch things, they're, ignorant on what people want, they don't know how to market. What he was telling me is the same thing I've been telling people, which is the big companies, they're doing the same, they have the same problems. They have
Hmm.
almost the exact same problems. I mean, I've got a client, they're doing millions of dollars a quarter, millions of dollars a quarter. And they had no job management software. They had no lead CRM. It was all like pen, paper, and we just know how it goes because that's just how we do it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Right? Like you got, and we looked at their lead conversion. Their conversion was under 10%. I'm like, do you realize that just by setting this up, like you're about to go to like at least bare minimum, you're gonna go to 20% conversions. Industry average is like 30 some, mid 30s. I'm
Hmm.
like, if you don't get bare minimum 20% conversion, which is going to be doubling their revenue, I was like, I'll quit. I'll go be a lifeguard. Like, I'll quit. Like the numbers were that astounding. And 20% is probably be putting it mildly, not because I'm cocky or conceited, but because like I could put, I could put Anthony, I could put anybody into that position and you guys would have done the same thing because of how like just bad it was. It was awful.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to them, like two scenarios. Number one, well, actually three scenarios, and this is pretty cool. Number one, they love their CRM. Great. I'm gonna use Zapier and connect the two. That's number one. Number two, they don't like it. I'm gonna push them all into GHL. Number three, they don't like it, but GHL can't do it. Oh, what I can now do is I can now actually go become an affiliate for these platforms, and I can say, hey, you need this platform. This is the one we recommend you. And because I'm an affiliate for multiple of them, I'm not gonna have like one preference over another. Right? So you can say, hey, here's an affiliate program. So you can sign up for the House Call Pro, Jobber. I don't know if JobTread has one or ServiceMate has one, but I go look and I sign up for all of them. And when you
Hmm.
put in your use case description, because you have to explain like you have to apply, I would say like we create conversion systems and websites for these guys, and then we're gonna plug your software in. They're gonna approve you instantly. I know because I do it all the time with people. I'm like, just explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because what you're saying is you're not saying I'm going to replace House Call Pro. You're saying I'm going to put House Call Pro on like, steroids on juice, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because like in their point of view, they're hiring a marketing agency or a marketer. And just like taking the idea of if they're hiring a marketer in-house, that marketer in-house has to work with what they got and make it work, right?
Sure.
So is it not our job to also do that, to like also work with what they got and make it better?
No. And that's a really good question. That's a really good question, but the answer is no. So watch
Right.
this. Um, you do HVAC, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I come to you and I go, Mateo, man, I want like the perfect like room temperature. Perfect. Okay. I want it to be, I'm in South Florida. I want it to be 71 in my apartment, in my house, in my condo, in my business, whatever. I want it to be 71. I've got 10 box fans and a box of ice behind the box fan. So it's blowing that cold air from the box of ice into the room. Can you help me set it up? Can you help me position the boxes of ices to the best spots possible?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You could. Is that the best way to do it?
No, you put a whole new system in.
So, as a
Yeah.
professional, what do you think a professional would tell these people? Yes, I can do it your way, or your way is not the smartest way of doing it. Let me show you the smarter way of doing it.
Okay, so then taking that example you gave, say they actually had a system and their one room isn't getting that temperature, but all the other rooms are.
Yeah.
Now it's our job or my job to go in and fix the system that is working, that's not providing cooling for that one home or that one room,
Perfect. So
right?
keep this analogy, right? Now you're understanding, hey, I'm going in there fully intended on fixing this. Now you go in there and the unit is not powerful enough, or the wall is complete concrete, there's no openings, there's no ventilation, nothing. Or the room itself is just a steel box, or it's just a matter of, hey, you have a loose duct, like a disconnected duct,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Disconnected duct is, hey, let's go and fix it. Great, here you go. Here's your bill for the hourly. We're done. But they're usually, when they're coming to you for the system side, it's never just a loose duct.
Yeah.
They're coming to you because they're like, hey, this doesn't work. I had a guy come to me, for example, and he said, we basically will incessantly follow up with somebody until we click a tag. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just have the opportunity change do that? He's like, that's awesome. That sounds like such a simple fix. I'm like, no, we have to rewire the whole thing.
Mhm.
because it's a matter of I have to change, I have to have your pipelines, I have to have your triggers, I have to have your automations, which he basically had them inverted. I'm like, you have to have them the right way. Then you have them move forward. Then we have to test them. Then we have to have it go live. And he's like, oh, I'd rather do it my way. I'm like, okay. But then he comes to me at the same time, oh, we're stuck at 1.2 million. I'm in a
Yeah.
room sweating my you know what off, and I would love to throw money at the fixing the problem, but you know what? I think my way's better. Okay. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like so if they come to you and they're like, my box fan with a bucket of ice behind it is working great, or I want you to make my way work. What I tell them, I told the client, yes, the same client I was telling you about. I told the client yesterday, I said, listen, if your way worked, I wouldn't be here. Now I can try to salvage as much as of how you want to do it your way, but if your way worked, I wouldn't be here. So you have two choices to make. You have two options to pick from, right? You have a choice to make. Your two options are option A, you find somebody to do it your way, which I would go find a VA, I'd go on Fiverr, I would go pay somebody your way to do it. Or option B, you recognize that there's a better way, you overhaul the system, and when the new system's working, here's when you should start seeing your projected ROI. So, for example,
Hmm.
we had a guy come to us. He's like, I'm doing 20 leads a month. I'm closing about 50 of them. I'm like, great. The sales lady goes, what's your average ticket? He goes, our lowest ticket is 20K. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this right. The system setup is under 20K. I won't say how much. Let's just say it's under 20K. Your lowest ticket is 20K. If we can convert one lead, two leads, would you make all your money back in that first month? He's like, yes. I'm like, great. Now it's 20K one-time setup. Afterwards, it's a 3K maintenance. Are you telling me that that one next client that you close that we're going to close for you, that would cover about 8 months, or not 8 months? Let's see, 6 months, right? Six times three is 18. He's like, so I'm like, one client would cover 6 months. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, and you're telling me this is a tough question? I'm like, and on top of it, because it's not my agency, it's an agency I was working with. I'm like, on top of it, if we don't get you that 20K within 1 month, we are not going to charge you until we get the 20K. And he's like, I got to think about it. I'm like, what is there to think about? It's a guaranteed ROI. It's like it's like having a gambling addiction and you win every time you play cards. It's like what's
Hmm.
the problem? So for you, it's like, yes, you are right half the time. The other half, I want you to be prepared to say, hey, listen, like you're doing this a really old, outdated, backwards way. Maybe all three, maybe one of the three. Because I'm really good at what we're doing, let me show you what we do for other people that they love. Or let me show you the process that we set up, and here's why it works better than what you have.
Yeah. Okay. Just
And I
because we've
and
talked. Go
the
ahead.
last thing I'll say on that is I've had people come and they go, we had a guy, very small business, right? And he goes, I don't want to use your payment processor because of the 3% charge. It was like what we do typically is we do a fast setup. So we'll do like a Stripe setup because it's super fast. And then after a few months, we'll switch to like a different payment processor that has a lower fee, right? But for fast setup, like, hey, just throw it together because I can get a Stripe account in 5 minutes. If you have an EIN and a website, you can have a Stripe account in 5 minutes. So, and they're doing Zelle, right? They're doing Zelle or check or whatever. And I'm like, hey, let's set this up. He's like, well, it's 3%. I'm like, listen, if you lost 3% of your money now, that could hurt you. But if you're going to have 3% off of all the jobs we're about to close you, and now you can close more jobs, get more reviews, all this stuff, all just from the app, just by clicking buttons, send it, and then the system does it. I'm like, it's a no-brainer. And so he's like, I want to do it my way. And so I was like, I'd have a firm talk with him. And this is exactly what I went. I said, listen, if your way worked, it's the same thing I always say. If your way worked, you would not have reached out to me or anybody for help. I said, now, if you want to go find somebody who's going to do what you want them to do, there's two things you have to recognize. Number one, you don't know what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, you would have done it. And number two, you're going to be hiring a yes man, not somebody who's going to guide you, right? When you hire a guide, the guide doesn't say go wherever you want. The guide says sit down, or not sit down, but they say shut up, get behind me, and don't make a noise because, I got to listen for the environment, right?
Yeah.
So when I told him that, again, most people would be like, wow, like, I'm not going to sit here and take that. That's what they expect. The agency owner expects. And you know what happens every single time? They go, yeah, you're right. I really don't know what I'm doing. And then he's like, but here are the actual concerns and anxieties I have. And you go, great, I can answer those. And so that's what you want to do is you want to dig up like, why are you actually giving me pushback? And so usually what the agency owner misconstrues is they're giving me pushback, ergo they won't do it, ergo I need to work around it. What I do is I say, here's what we need to do. They give me pushback. I go, I'm here for a reason. Why don't you want to do it this way? Like talk me through your anxieties, fears, concerns, hesitations, worries. And they go, well, here are the actual worries. And I go, great. So if I make my system adapt your concerns, would you love it? They'd be like, I'd love it. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it comes out because we don't communicate clearly. So we think in our head, it's slippery slope. And then what comes out is I'm not doing your way. What really they want to say is if your way could address my concerns, I would love to do it your way.
Yeah.
So for the setup, whatever they have, do you love what you have? What are you using? What are you using? What you're using for? Like, why are you using Jobber? If they like, I'm using Jobber because I have this, 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 this. I'm using Housecall because I have this, 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 this. I'm using ServiceMate because our whole team uses it. We love it. Perfect. You sure you love it? This is what I always do. It's like it's very corny. I go, you sure you love it? And they go, I love it. I go, great, because I'm gonna make you use it a whole lot more. So are you sure? And they go, I'm sure. Perfect. Now I'll connect it. But if they're
Yeah.
even like, I go, oop, let's pick at that thread. Like, what about it do you not like? And sometimes you might say, like you were saying, sometimes it might be, let me hop in your house call pro and actually, oh, we can just switch this and this, and you can still use it, and now it works even better. And you go, oh, sweet, we
Mhm.
didn't know we could do that. Sometimes you hop in, you're like, hey, what you're trying to do? You know what I mean? Like, not good, right? So it's
Yeah,
all
because this,
it's all a matter of communicate, map the process, and ask them like, what software are you using and for what purpose?
yeah, because there are companies that are doing like 10 million and they're solely just stuck on House Call Pro because like it works. Like don't get me wrong, it works.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
DBR also works. The DBR is more automation, back like the behind the scenes stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So I guess our idea is like let's implement a system that works with their current system so they have to do as little work as possible.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
and they still rely on us.
Oh,
We're
100%. So
still
so
go
what you
ahead.
could do, right, is you could say you're using House Call Pro and we want to do a DBR. So remember, high level or lead connector is your sales piece. So you do a DBR and you send out, hey, who's interested? If you're interested, reply. If they reply with a positive intent, because you can filter, you can make an automation that says customer replied, or it's just called replied. You do a filter that says replied to this automation. It'd be the automation for the promo. Intent type positive, make another trigger, same thing, but intent type is negative. If the intent type is positive, create an internal automation to the sales team and say, hey, if like check to make sure that they're actually positive, right? Because we want to confirm. Because somebody might say like, uh, heck yeah, and the system's like, oh, they said heck. Maybe it means no. I don't know how the system might take it, right? So I always say, whenever they
Yeah,
reply, number one, have a human put eyes on it. Number two, if they're interested, this is lead connector. If they're interested, send them a quote from House Call. Send them a quote from Jobber. So I can tell them, hey, here's what to do next if they are in fact interested, right?
yeah,
And that's how I get them to connect for things that are maybe not direct, because you're gonna have to manually send that quote either way, right? You see what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
and real quick on the manual quote thing, I like sending automated estimates. I do not do automated quotes. Because if I automate a quote based off what you told me, and then I show up to the job site and you're like, well, you told me it was this, it's a pickle. It's not a fun
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
If I say automated estimate and then I manually send them a quote, that's way better. So I say automated range. When I get on site, I have to look and it's based off what you told me. I get on site, okay, you told me accurate, quote falls within the range. You told me inaccurate, maybe on purpose, maybe not on purpose. Here's the actual quote and why. You see what I'm saying? But if I can say lead connector, okay, they're interested, boom, task, send them a quote. Or task, notify the technician next time you're on site, create a quote, whatever that process looks like, right? So you can still
Mhm.
connect the two. Because now
Yeah,
what happens? My lead connector says, send promo, interested. Once interested, that triggers send estimate in Jobber. Pipeline two, estimate sent, high level is now following up. Estimate accepted, high level follows up to pay invoice. Estimate paid, high level follows up with next steps. Once I get to the job appointment, maybe that's appointment active job because it's like an hour before the appointment. Send internal survey of how it went, take pictures, get them to sign off. After that, collect final payment, right? So you can have the two mirroring each other very, very nicely. That's what I do all the time. I do it with grants here. We did it with a guy who uses Jobber. If you speak with Laurencio, we just did a literally nine pipelines for one business. taking them through customer to referral left. That's not even their hiring pipeline, and they use JobTread. And so we basically said, oh, once they've done this, hop into JobTread and do this. And we give them a full breakdown. Hey, hop in JobTread, go here, click this, click that, click here, boom, you're done.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's if I'm going to be telling them what to do, I'm going to put a little SOP in there. So if you're saying, hey, we got companies doing $10 million, right? They've got a team of 20 guys. What if one guy leaves? You got to hire a new guy. Well, if you're using Mateo's system is going to say, hey, when you're here, here's what to do. And it's dummy proof. So if you get like a new HVAC technician, I mean, I'm sure you've probably, trained some guys coming in. Maybe they're smart. Maybe they're like, uh, dumb as a doornail, right?
Yeah.
Or doorknob, whatever the expression is. The system says, hey, you need to do this. Here's how. Step one, click this calendar icon. Step two, find the right calendar. Step three, click new appointment. Step four, pick the right date. Step five, add the contact. Step six, click confirm. Step seven, you've done everything. We will now follow up for you. It's like, oh, that's done, right? So now even the hiring becomes faster. And if you
Hmm.
read chapter 15 in the E-Myth Revisited, they talk about how you systemize everything. So everything is the perfect experience. And that's a big part of how you can do it with Lead Connector. The first build too, the first build that you do for that for any HVAC company will be your hardest one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The second one will be the easiest. Like by far, the second one will be the easiest.
Yeah.
And then what's cool is
'Cause-
like every time you develop one client sub account, you go back and you copy and duplicate into the others.
yeah. Because we really want to push the DBR just to get them in the door, and then we're going to be like, okay, we can tie this into your Facebook ads if you're running any, or your Google ads if you're running any, and then push them into like local SEO or something like that.
Perfect. So that's a really good segue into what I wanted to cover today, which is this is not saying why you guys have this problem, but it ties into why most people struggle to sell their offer and basically how to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think this will be like right up your alley in terms of like, okay, the DBR is a really nice entry point. What do we offer? Why do we offer what we offer? Um, oh man, iPad's out of commission. That's okay. But we'll go.
Actually, sorry, before you get into that note, on your experience with the DVRs or anything on the high level side, do you find that texts are an issue? Like, you think they'll actually have to download Lead Connector to respond to
Texts
the
are
leads
actually
that come
never an
in?
issue.
Even if they want to chat, like, because one of your automations says like text this number if you have any questions.
Yeah. So
So
if
like if
they
they don't have it,
Yeah, if they
right?
don't have an A2P, then you can use that. If they have a jobber, like so sometimes jobber will come with a number. It'll say, hey, text this person, here's their number. We put in the here's your number one if someone's like, hey, I have no A2P, I just use my personal phone or a different business number. I would recommend just having the Lead Connector app because then what you do is under your user settings, what I do is I give the users set access to it's calendars, and even in calendars, just for the appointments, it's contact so they can find them, and it's conversations. That's the only thing. And then I make sure that it's only the information assigned to user, so they can't see anybody's conversation. They can't go and take your leads from you by reassigning them to themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the for the techs themselves, I actually have found that they love it. They actually love it because I tell them, open your app, click these three buttons, boom, it's done. And the benefit, like we had one guy who was like, well, isn't that like, that takes you like a minute or two, right? And I'm like, yeah, but check this out. How long does it take you to send an invoice? How long does it take you to send 10 follow-up messages because you don't know where they land? And then how long does it take you to figure out what's the best communication method, the best follow-up method, right? Because you're not tracking that. And then how long does it take you to send out when it starts I don't know. I'm trying to think of an HVAC example. Maybe a tornado comes through. How long is it going to take you to text every lead? Hey, is your HVAC still intact? Like, we'll come out and look at it versus clicking one button. So I tell them like, yes, is it going to take 30 seconds at the job site? It will. And that 30 seconds at that job site is going to save you hours of follow-up, hours of trying to get more conversions. It's going to save you hours of time that you would spend asking for reviews and referrals. And let's be real, when you're tired, you're not going to do it. So it just doesn't get done. So I'd rather use take 30 seconds. I tell it to text when they first come out. I say, hey, I go, hold your breath and we're going to time it. That's what I do. And like the shortest guy is like 30 seconds, right? I'm like, great. And I'll fill out the survey. Like, everybody hold your breath and I'll fill out the survey in front of them. I'm like, we did it before anybody lost air. And so
Hmm.
they can see, oh, it's faster than holding their breath. And then when they see my favorite pieces, when they see how much it converts more, usually when you have especially a one man, two man crew, they're literally just seeing dollar signs in front of their eyes. Because you wake
Yeah.
up and we notify you and we say, oh, you just got a new sale. You did nothing and closed a new deal. Like put in corny messages. What I do for what I just did for Laurencio and the Job Tread guys is every time they close, I go woohoo. You know, like you ever play Sims? My wife is like a big Sims person. So if you know
Yeah, I
what
know
Sims
what
is,
you're talking about.
you know
Yeah.
what woohoo means. I won't say it, but I always put like woohoo. You just closed a new deal. So they literally just get text messages like you just got a new deal, right? You just got a new review. And so I'm bombarding them with all the positive stuff.
Hmm.
So the text, like you would think they give the most pushback. Once they start seeing it, once they start using it after a week, they're like, yeah, I love it.
I was talking more about like the actual text itself, like
Like
the
SMS.
SMS, yeah, sorry.
Oh no, they don't
So
mind.
instead of like what I was saying, like we want to keep them like off of lead connector as possible, but some of your automations go and say text this number for questions. So they're gonna need lead connector either way
Yes.
to say, yeah, okay.
Now the workaround would be I tell you to text lead connector or not text lead connector. I tell you to send a text, right? And then you just send it from your personal phone. So it's an internal SMS, and I'm saying text it from your personal phone.
Yeah,
But that's where it's a matter of what I was saying earlier. What platform are you using and for what purpose? So if you're using Jobber for your SMS, I would say, hey, text them in Jobber. If you're using your personal phone and you refuse to use A2P, text them from your personal phone. Bad idea, but do it. If you're using Lead Connector, hey, hop in Lead Connector, find the contact, text them in conversations, right?
yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't think there's any reason to keep them off of lead connector. That's like the most powerful and the easiest way to do it. Maybe try to keep them off the web, like off the desktop version, which me and
Yeah.
Alec do.
Yeah, yeah,
But lead connector is just so powerful, and the invoicing and the estimates on lead connector is just so clean. Like they won't, I don't think they'll have an issue using it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's just the fact that they have a system that's working. Why do we want to
Mm.
pull them out of that system?
So
If they're using
sometimes,
House Call Pro,
Yeah,
like if they're
sometimes
using the invoice system.
sometimes
the
what I say to people that are using like they already have a CRM, I was like, oh, like I would just be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Those are mostly like project management tools for your niche. Those don't necessarily, focus on better automation ability and like revenue producing ability. Like that's where our focus is like on sales and conversion systems. So technically they are two different things because an HVAC specific software is more of a project management tool. Whereas like our setups are more positioned on marketing and conversions.
Yeah, yeah. And like we'd want to structure that for the marketing and the automations,
Mm.
but if they're sending invoices to the homeowner in the house, because they'll be in the house with them sending the invoice right
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if they say agree to it and they get changed in their pipeline in House Call Pro, we
Mm.
want the lead connector to also update, but not to use the invoicing system.
I
Yeah,
think yeah, you could probably do that with
yeah,
Right?
Zap.
that's
Yeah.
what I do for Laurencio. So they use JobTread for their invoicing. So what we do is we say, okay, once the invoice is sent, trigger in JobTread, or let's just swap it for House Call Pro. Invoice sent, Zaps to update the GHL opportunity. Automation trigger says GHL opportunity change, right? Pipeline stage change, triggers whatever follow up, or just not even a follow up. It just at least moves it in the pipeline so you know where they are.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
then
That's what
once
we
it's moved to the
want.
right stage, then it fires off the automation. But by having even just a visible tracking of every single client, that is kind of one of the better offers that people don't recognize, which is if you know exactly where everything is, you can track your micro conversions.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you have a big drop off, and I always tell people like, "What's the biggest problem you have?" And they will always say something like, "I need to close more." And I'm like, "Where's your bottleneck?" And they'll say, well, it's at closings, right?" And I'm like, "No." So it's always there's always something in the actual pipeline. So think about this, right? Um, trying to think of an example. I can just use a marketing example, I guess. Usually I like my corny analogies to kind of convey them. But think about like a typical like marketing funnel. There's two people. You have person one, which is what I see all the time. They're not tracking. They go, oh, we close this many deals. Person two, they're tracking every step of the path. So person one says we have a conversion problem or we have a lead problem because they don't know. And they usually comes out we have a lead problem. Any local business is going to tell you we have a lead problem. What I go is I go, okay, great. Let's get your numbers. Number one, how many leads are you attracting every month? 3,000, but they're crap leads or 300. They're 300 crap leads, right? Oh, okay. How do you remember? How do you know that? Because they're going to tell you that and you're going to say, how do you know that? Well, it's through Facebook and Facebook produces crap leads. No, Facebook produces more leads at lower rates. Maybe they're lower quality, but I know a lot of people crushing with Facebook. So they don't actually know these things. That's why when someone tells me that anything, I go, how do you know that? Right? I don't care what they tell me. I can't breathe underwater. How do you know that? Because I tried and I choked. That's a pretty good answer, right? So I go, how many leads you have? 300. Great. Of the 300, how many are you sending estimates to? 250. Phenomenal. Because a 300 to 250, that's a pretty high conversion rate. But you're going to see how it actually becomes a funnel. It's not a funnel because of multiple sources coming to one call to action. It's a funnel because watch the numbers drop off. So we go 300 to 250 are sending estimates. Now, of the people that you're sending estimates to, the 250, how many are approving the estimates? And they tell me 50. Whoa, that's a huge drop off, right? Now, of the 50 that you send estimates, how many actually pay and move forward? Well, 50, we send the invoice to, they accept it. About 40 will pay. That's not a bad drop off. Of the people who pay and you do the work, how many leave your reviews? 5%. Whoa, that's a huge drop off, right? Five, let's say five, not 5%, five of the 40. So now we have a drop off at I'm sending 250 estimates, I'm closing 50. Big drop off. I have 40 clients, I'm getting five reviews. Big drop off. Those are my 2 points to focus on, right? And so when I track those 2 points, because I have the data, because I'm just using, think about this, I'm just using Zap to track the opportunity stages in GHL. Just that one offer alone. I can see where the drop off is. And then I can say, watch this, Mateo, you're an HVAC. Every week we're going to meet and we're going to look at our numbers. Mateo, team, and you can answer honestly. We're sending 250 estimates. We're closing 50. Why do we think this is? And like, what would you think if you're like, I'm sending 250 estimates? It's insane. My thumbs are sore, but we're only closing 50. Why do you think that would be?
Could be price, could be the brand itself. They're not trustworthy enough.
Okay, so
Reviews on
so
Google,
price,
right?
reputation. What else
Yeah.
could you think of? Maybe the tech is like grimy. Like he wanted him to get there, but when he got there, they're like, oh, the tech is kind of like weird and creepy, and he's
Well,
like
yes,
hitting
that
on me
could
or
be an
something.
option, but usually like the bigger companies will send out an actual sales guy instead of the
Okay,
tech.
okay,
So, I mean, the sales guy will be proper. Um,
or he should be.
yeah, he should be at
So
least. That
perfect.
could be an
So
option.
let's take those three. Those three become this is what they cover in what's it called? Hacking growth. It's like a growth hacking program they go through. So you have four stages. You have analyze, ideate, prioritize, test. So analyze. We're looking at the numbers, 250 to 50. That's analyzing. There's a problem here. Ideate. What could those problems be? And let's throw out ideas. So it could be pricing, it could be a brand, it could be the person going there is creepy or something's going wrong with the person there. Prioritize. Which of those do we think has the greatest impact? Like, which of those do you think we could fix the fastest? And so what they'll do is they'll score it. Well, number one, if I create an exact script for those guys to go out and handle, and I make sure that they're prim, proper, clean, well presented, very, well spoken, right? That might not have the biggest impact, but it is the fastest fix, right? So maybe I do this one week one. And then we see it goes from 250 to maybe 60. Okay, a little jump, not a big jump, but a little jump, right? That's 10 more deals, all because we made sure that we have a clean process, explain everything, whatever, right? Then we go to brand trustworthiness. Well, we know with brand trustworthiness, we also had that issue at the bottom, which was low reviews. And maybe the only people leaving reviews are the people who are extremely emotionally motivated to do that, which is what? The angry people, right?
Yeah.
So I need to ask my happy people and I need to run campaigns against my angry people. But also, post job, I need to do a walkthrough with them to make sure everything is good. And I need to track all of their positive and negative feedback, right? Because that's going to tell me why they're leaving me negative reviews. One thing I find because I'm tracking the data, remember I told you data and mouth, right? Now, because I have a statistically, now I can track the statistics, but now I can also survey them. At the end, I realized the techs are leaving the house a mess. So we fixed that. Now we're getting from the 40 people, remember, from the 40 people that ended up paying, Let's say now we're at 45 because we have 50 to 60. Let's say we're at 40 to 45. Now we're getting half of them to leave a review. And now there's more happy reviews because they're not complaining about the text leaving a house a mess, right? So now we're getting more reviews, which is going to lead to more leads up top. So now that
Hmm.
300 becomes 350, that 250 becomes 275, that 60 becomes 70. So now we've done the presentability and we've done a little bit of the trust brand stuff, a little damage repair and fixing the process to make sure we're only getting positive reviews. Now let's go to the pricing. There's two things you can do with pricing. Watch this. And Mateo, just answer me honestly. You go to a customer's house, you give them a quote, they tell you it's too expensive. Do you A, negotiate with them, or B, you're not allowed to negotiate with them? And I'll answer both. But which one do you do typically?
I would try and stay as strong as possible on the number that I gave them. And then
Perfect.
since I'm a technician, I could also give my sales manager a call and see if there's any room.
Perfect. Ideally, we don't lower on price, ideally.
Yeah.
But I would lower, and I do this test all the time because your guys will tell you, I'm not going down on price. And I go, really? How much is a ticket? I had a guy do this the other day. He was like, a ticket is, it was like 2000, I think. It was something like it was 2000, right? I go, it's 2000. I go, okay, would you sell it for $1? He goes, no. I go, would you sell it for $2? He's like, no. I'm like, $3. No. I go, now watch this. Would you sell it for 1,999? He's like, well, yeah. I'm like, what about 1,998? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what about 1,997? He's like, well, yeah. I'm like, so there's a point at which you would say no, but there's also a point at which you would still say yes. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you're not going to know that until you talk to him. So pricing can come into play, but like you said, I do pricing after because if it's a value thing, let's get the value. If value is
Yeah.
not established, pricing will always be an issue. If value is established, pricing now becomes a secondary issue. So let's look at the value. What the value is why do we charge as much as we charge? And so this is where the sales becomes an educational piece, right? This is why we charge more. This is how I love doing this. This is how the other guys charge less. And because they charge less, it actually might bite you in the butt later and end up charging more. So would you
Hmm.
rather spend a little bit more now and that's it, or spend less now and spend way more down the road? That's how I position it every time.
Yeah.
And so when you put it, or for the sales system, would you rather pay somebody $4,000 for a sales funnel, back end system, and you lose out on 5 converted deals, which translates based on your numbers, translates to 30, 40, 50,000 a month, or pay more upfront and make sure that you're closing those deals incessantly. Plus, you have my team on standby so we can track the number and we do our own growth hacking to make sure that we're constantly monitoring it. Which one is going to make them more money? Me. So now, if it's truly, I don't see the value or I don't value the value, as stupid as that sounds, I don't value it, right? I don't value AC. I'd rather have no AC, right? I'm sure there's people like that. I don't want to breathe. I don't know. What's the whatever the chemical is for the coolant, right? I'm sure you've
Yeah.
met all kinds of weirdos, right? Working with the general public. If they don't value the value, I'm out of here. But if they value it and it truly is a matter of price, now let's talk price, right? We can come down 5%, or let's change the scope. Okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We're going to go that. Or let's change the material. We can go with a cheaper duct. Or, and again, I'm speaking and you're like, this guy's no idea what he's talking about. But, we can go with a cheaper
You're
unit,
getting
smaller unit.
close.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We can go with a
Yeah.
cheaper duct. Maybe we can go with this workaround versus that. And by doing that, we can lower the price, right? But it's not going to last as
Yeah.
long. However, if money is tight now, but maybe not later, it's a good fit. Oh, cool. Let's do that. Hey, I'll send you both quotes and you pick, right? And then maybe they sleep on it. They go, well, let's make it happen. Or you know what? I can't, but now he's downsold me and still locked in the deal, right?
Yeah.
So now your estimates conversion goes from 275 cent. We were at 70. Now you're at 100, 110, 130. And the way that we keep climbing is we just keep reading the data and tweaking it. So one of my favorite offers in the beginning that very few people focus on, because a lot of people are very attracted to the idea of, like when we talk about SaaS, let's be real. A lot of people are very attracted to the concept of set it and forget it. I sold you this thing, you're going to pay me monthly, have a good one, right? What I like to do is I like to say, I sold you this thing. I'm going to check in with you every 2 weeks, read over your information for about an hour, send you an email as to what I think we should do. That's it. And that's going to have
Hmm.
huge upsell potential. Like Grant and I, one of the things that we do is we set up, we have a standard template website, 5 page. Once we cap out, okay, hey, because we're not focused on, it's obviously not SEO friendly. Once we cap out, we go, hey, it's time. Like you're ready for a new website. We're tracking all your numbers because I'm seeing everything because it's my system that you're using. We're tracking all your numbers. I know you have the cash. We don't say it, but we know they have the cash. They just got a huge win. Now it's time to upgrade and reinvest. Great. So now that setup fee for a new website is going to be between 3,500 and 10,000, depending on how many pages. But if we're
Hmm.
looking at the data for us, we can also look at the data for them and we can make upsells that make sense. It's not just, hey, gimme money. It's not the wrong timing, right? It's not like you're hitting on somebody after their spouse died, right? You're not, that's a bad timing, right? So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, you're getting a lot of reviews. This is going really well. You have more cash than you ever had. You want to reinvest it and make a little bit more, or and just reinvest a portion of it. And they're like, yeah, let's do it because they're riding a high. So then, boom, we close a better deal. We recommended them what to do. They're now making more money because now you have the SEO friendly website, right? 15 page, all interlinked and perfectly done. And then what's going to happen? We're going to keep monitoring. Hey, now you're ready for ads, right? And we're continuously upselling them because we can look at the data.
Yeah.
So having just them zapping over to those stages is like it is probably if you want to talk about like the really good offer, that is like the perfect offer is just having data because
Hmm.
data tells you what to do. How many times have you felt like, or anybody felt like, I love to do the work. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I'd love to move forward. I don't know where to go. I'd love to go visit you, but I don't have directions, right? The data gives you directions because it's saying good leads, good estimates, huge drop off. Nice people, like good amount of estimates or invoices sent to payment, huge drop off from reviews, right? It's telling you focus on these two spots.
Okay, so do you see a drop off in DBR over a period of time? Like I'm sure your first DBR makes the most amount of money, right? And then the next month, say you go to run it, you'd have to change up the promotion, but people already saw the first promotion. They'll think more promotions are coming down later on. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So what you want to look for with the DBR is you want to look for a value add. Always a value add. So number one, DBR would be more of like a reactivation. I would probably call what you're referring to as more like promotional offers. And I would
Okay.
do with your promotional offers, I would rotate them out monthly or quarterly. And I would incentivize number one, the first signups, whether that's early or numeric or a quantitative amount, right? So it's like first 10 or Grant and I are doing one that we're launching after this call where it's like, hey, if you sign up before April or yeah, before April, right?
Yeah. No, those
So
work well.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's value based. So one of the offers that we're doing for Grant would be spring cleanup, right? And I'll give you an example for you, right? So give me a DBR offer idea that you have for HVAC.
Trade in your old AC before summer starts,
Perfect.
right?
Now, with the DBR, best book that you can read for anything promotional, anything sales is called Demand Side Sales. Best book you can read by far. Because watch this. Let's say I email everybody that, and someone goes, "I just got one last month. Why are you reaching out to me?" You see what I'm saying? That's going to be awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So one thing that Grant did really well is he went in the system and he number one, he tracked everybody just using tags who would benefit from the service.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say you buy a new unit after a year, then I'll put you in my pipeline for the promotion. So maybe it's like job closed, literally wait 1 year, add to promo list, right? So
Hmm.
you can have an automation like that. When you do the promotion, if you read demand side sales, what they cover is they say go find people who have purchased from you, that final conversion. Go find people who purchased from you and interview them. Why did you purchase? And they say like it's borderline like interrogation. Like it's not like, oh, why'd you purchase? It's like, what were you wearing the day you purchased? What were you wearing the day you realized you needed this? Why did you need this? Why did you not need that? Why? And it's like, if you read it, it's like, dang, it's intense. But the copy that comes out of it is phenomenal because the people who bought from you, let's say you're priced higher, they're gonna explain why they bought higher. So if you take their story of why I paid more and you market it, do you think other people are gonna relate to that? 100%. If you have people who go, here's why I did this, here's why I wanted with this unit versus that unit, here's why I did anything, and you figure it out, you can translate that and people are going to relate to that, right? I'll really prove my point. This will be like the hammer in the coffin, okay? Or the nail in the coffin, right? There are people who will be sent like in a court case and they committed like a horrible crime, right? And those people will have people fall in love with them and write them letters. And they'll be like, I completely understand why you did it. Right? Go look at like Jeffrey Dahmer and oh my gosh, who was the other one that had like women swooning over him and he was like a horrible person. Ted Bundy. Horrible. And they were like writing why? Because if you just explain why you did something, people will side with you. right? Most people in that case are going to be like, you're insane. But we're talking about buying HVAC units, right? Not committing, mass
Yeah.
murders, hopefully, right? So when you go through that, you're going to figure out, oh, this is why they buy. And then that becomes your avatar. So I'm not going to sell to anybody outside of that avatar because I know if I sell to this avatar, they're going to pay me my fees gladly. They're going to leave me a review. They're going to be the best customer ever. And best customers leave reviews. Reviews attract more of the best customers. I'm rocking and rolling. I got a buddy in Canada, cleaning business. He said we only sell to people in certain zip codes. We only do recurring cleaning. He said when we switch to that model, only think about this. Imagine you're like, hey, I only take you for in a certain zip code. I reject everybody outside of other zip codes. They went from 4,000 a month to 50,000 a month, on track for 90,000 a month by the end of the year. That's filthy. And he's under
Yeah.
30. That's filthy. So that's going to be a huge piece. So when you go to do your promo, then what you do is you basically explain the story of why they purchased. So for example, I'll give you like a really corny example they use in the book and I love it. They're building custom homes. They look at their client base and they find that one of their client bases are individuals aged 55 and up, so seniors, right? Or 65 and up, sorry, seniors, okay? And they said, "Why did you guys move here?" And they go, "Well, we moved here because as we were getting older, it was harder to take care of a big house. The kids moved out." Boom, that was the trigger that initiates them to look around. Kids have moved out, gone to college. You've got a lot of house to clean, right? That you don't need. They said, number two, why did you pick our, like, what did you like about what we had? They said, well, we liked um, we liked how it was located near things so we could walk to like grocery stores, but we wanted a bigger living room and we wanted storage. Why? Well, when they wanted storage, it was because if you're downsizing, you want a place to put your memories and not lose them. So they built more storage units to be part of their sales copy, right? Then they said, why do you want a bigger living room? And they're like, well, we want to bring our dining room table. Why? When they interviewed them, what they found is that the dining room table was the number one thing that seniors wanted to bring with them because that was where all the memories were made, right? Like your kids are growing up around the dining room table, you're eating dinner. So they wanted to bring their dining room table no matter how ridiculously large it was. So they redesigned the homes to have a bigger dining room. Okay. By redesigning the homes, they actually shrunk the kitchen. Shrunk the kitchen. You would, again, imagine I tell you, hey, we're going to make your kitchen smaller, living room bigger. Some people would be like, absolutely not. They just asked their people who bought, what did you guys want? Or what would you like to see? And they interviewed people who both purchased and people who didn't purchase. We did not purchase because you didn't have enough storage and this was too small. We did not purchase because we don't need this. We wanted that. We didn't like, right? And they interviewed it. And so when they found that, they went back and did it and their sales jumped. It was like 100 or 150% the next year because now all of their copy tailored to that age group was, hey, number one, the trigger. When your kids move out, let's put it on your radar. When your kids move out, you've got to downsize. When you downsize, you don't want to get rid of your memories. That's why we have storage and a bigger room so you can bring your dining room table. And then they said, what were your anxieties about moving? I'm old. I've got a bad back. We'll actually, when you buy a custom home from us, we'll come out and we'll move everything for you.
Mhm.
And sales went through the roof. So when you go to talk about your unit, talk about who is purchasing. What is the trigger that leads them to think I need a new AC unit, right?
Yeah.
If your AC unit is fine, you don't need it. So
Yeah.
how can I trigger you to either think I need a new one or realize I need a new one? Right? Like, hey, did you know if your AC unit is older than 2 years, you might be breathing in like straight dog doo-doo air? I don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, if you want, we'll come out and do an audit and make sure it's clean. You come out, hey, it's clean, but now I have you my contact list. I can follow up with you in a year.
Mhm.
Hey, it's not clean. I can sell you upsell or I can do the downsell for a quicker, smaller fix, right? So when you're
Mhm.
doing your promo, number one, make sure you understand the reason they buy. For Grant and I, because we just set this up for spring cleanup. The guy reached out to Grant and he's like, "Oh, for spring cleanup, I want to say like, hey guys," it was like this kind of promo language, and Grant was like, it's too promotional, it's too salesy. So
Yeah.
he and I worked together and we're like, okay, why would somebody want a spring cleanup? It's like, well, if you don't clean up, what's going to happen is summer, fall, because you didn't clean up all the leaves and dead stuff that was suffocating your grass. Guess what's happening? Your grass is all like ugly. And you're thinking, oh, how do I fix it? It's like, why would you try to fix it when it's too late? Everyone's looking at your lawn. Let's get it right now. So we changed all the copy to basically imply that if you do the spring cleanup now, your grass is going to be greener, fuller, healthier, which is true. But it's all about the buyer. So it's not like, hey, we have a promo. It's like, hey, this is what's happening. The trigger is end of winter. At end of winter, this is what happens. Here's what we're offering. If you don't take action, here's what might happen to your lawn. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So
And
for yeah, go ahead, Grant.
Plus, what I didn't ever really think about with DBRs, I've had like in the past DBRs, like just one message DBRs that have done well. But you emphasized and we set up the it will follow up with them, not spammy, but for like 2 months going into the spring. And it will have like and the messages will kind of align with the message that came with it before. So like
Yeah,
that's also gonna help with the conversions as well.
it's a good idea. Because
Yeah, so we
we can definitely run something similar to like the spring cleanup you guys have, but we have ran that as an ad for one of our clients before, and he got very low quality. So like they wanted the cheapest thing possible, and as soon as they try and upsell, they don't have the money.
perfect, perfect. So watch this. Go look. This is the perfect thing you can do. It's called the 80/20 evaluation, and you will understand your USP, your copy, and how to find your dream clients. This is my favorite exercise ever. Nobody ever does it. I force my clients to do this every time. Every time, I'll tell you right now, they hate it. They hate it every time. This is what I do, okay? Step one, I want a list of your full contacts. If it's I basically want full contacts, what they purchased, how much they gave you, and how much fun you had working with them. 4 columns. Who, what, how much did you enjoy working with them? That's it. I'm then going to put it in a Google Sheet. I'm then going to filter by cash. Okay, highest to lowest. You go to the column. You do sort sheet by column, and then you do I think it's like A to Z to A. I think it's backwards because you want higher to lower. So I think it's Z to A. You do Z to A. If not, just do A to Z. But I think you do Z to A. Then you're gonna see here's the people who paid us the most amount of money, our highest ticket offers, who they were, and then you grade, did we have fun working with them? Who was the best client ever? The best client ever is somebody who gives you a lot of money and you like working with them. Would anybody disagree? Would anybody say, I want cheap and mean people, right? So you want high paying, fun to work with. You're going to do that. Those are your last 2 columns. You then look in column B. What did they buy? Right? It's going to tell you what offer to run promos on. Then you look at column A. I'm looking at their names. What about them what about them do they have in common? Right? It might be they're all in the same zip code. Let's run Facebook ads only on that zip code.
Mhm.
It might be they all purchased the same thing. What led them to purchase the same thing? What was the trigger that led them to purchase the same thing? It was this event. So now let's run ads saying, hey, did this just happen to you? Focus now on the geographic location of that zip code with your copy of what you need, why you need it, and why you don't want to go cheap because that'll screw you over.
Yeah. But so then how can you do that on the DVRs? Just like your video you released, you said they might not have the time to organize all that. So how do you
That's
how do
why
you
they hate
release a
doing it.
message? Yeah, how do you release a message where like, or do you release that message and then go off of the data and then build off of that?
So here's the next stupid here's the next piece. Ready? The same way that you have them do that evaluation, you do that evaluation.
Off of the data that we collected
Uh,
through that
And
DBR?
let's say you have no, just off of you and who you want to work with. So think about
Okay.
this. Do you want to work with a client who refuses to do what you say?
No.
No. So when you make your copy and your content, you need to say, listen, if you're going to come work with us, you do it our way. You're not going to come here and you're not going to halfway do it. You're not going to tell me what you're doing and not doing. You are coming to me because I'm the professional. You're coming to us because we know how to do this. If you acknowledge that, you have to release your preconceived notions of what is right and what is wrong because you don't know.
Yeah.
I got a 2 year old. My 2 year old thinks it's a good idea to have candy for breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Adults are just older kids. Well, I think it's smart to just get more leads. It's like, but that's not where your sticking point is. Your sticking point is here, right? Like, here's how we're going to identify it. I always say, we have to identify the USP. I have an 8 step process I take every client through that pays me a lot of money. Every time we go through what is your USP and how do we identify the USP? We talk to the clients. We talk to their past customers. We talk to people who bought and didn't buy and why. So for you, it's like, okay, who do I want in a customer? I want somebody who trusts me, will do what I say, and will do it snappy, right?
Hmm.
One of Grant's favorite clients, he's like, I love this guy. I'm like, what do you like about him? Because he talks to him more than I do, right? Obviously, it's Grant's business. I'm like, what do you like about him? He goes, he does what I say. He gives me feedback. He communicates timely.
Yeah.
And Grant can tell you, like, that's what it is every time. And they pay their bill, right? That's it.
Yeah.
So when you make your content, don't be so like, be more like, I want it to be like, yeah, even if you need clients desperately, okay? I want you to act like you are the belle of the ball. You are the catch. I want you to be as like delusional as possible, right? Like the people who are like, "Yes, I'm a 10," and you're like, "No, you are not a 10." I'm not a 10 either, but you are definitely, you know what I mean? Like you need to have that
Yeah.
delusional, right? Like I'm a 10, you need me, I don't need you. When you have that attitude, they will come and then the right person will come because you think somebody who is like cheap and doesn't do what you tell them is going to be attracted to you saying, "We're good at what we do, but you do it our way." Because I'm not good at doing it your way. Your way sucks. I'm going to do it my way, right?
Yeah.
So that will attract them. Then when they come in, think about all the things you're going to fix. You're not going to have to worry
Mhm.
about, oh, put together a list. They're going to be like, hey, I got that list for you. Right. And look, I'll ask Grant. Grant, are you there? I want to make sure he's
Yeah, I'm here.
Grant, tell him about don't name the name, but tell him about the client we let go the other day.
Oh yeah, so there was this guy, and he didn't want to use our template website because to be fair, he had like a nice WordPress one, so we thought. And then we went on the back end, and it was just a mess. And and then I gave him like four options, like either we can fix the back end of the WordPress for this much, we can make you a new WordPress website, or you can just use our template for free. And he basically just kept ignoring the question and just didn't want to do any of the options. So we were just like, well, I don't want to take your money or like hinder our brand by, your website crashing or something. So we like dropped him.
Yeah.
And that was all within like what time period? From like finding the WordPress issues to dropping him.
Oh, he put his card on file and then we dropped him within like 8 hours. Not even.
So that's
Mhm.
the other hard part. Now Grant's in a good position, but that's the other hard part. It's like I want clients, I need clients. And we were like, what I told Grant is again, he's not in that position. But when you're like, I really want clients, it's like you have to triple down and be like, you're not who I want to work with. I need you to go. If you're dating somebody, your supposed wife or the woman who's supposed to be your wife is gonna pass you on by because she's like, oh, he's taken, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
you're taken. Meanwhile, dealing with like somebody who's making you like reevaluate, breathing. You know what I mean? Because you're like, so with the content, what Grant does is he's like, listen, we have a process, we have a system. And Grant, and I've told Grant a few times, because I remember Grant was like a few weeks ago, he was like, he's not doing it. And I was like, hey man, you gotta tell him it's your way because your way works, his way doesn't. Otherwise, why did he come to you? And he was like, he's like, all right, let me do it. He does it. Guy's like, oh, I love it. Let's do it. So then he didn't even tell me. He goes, I went and did it with the other guy, and the other guy's on board too. And I'm like, there you go.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
and that was a concern that Grant had because he was like, well, isn't that going to scare him away? And I'm like, no, remember why they came to you. They came to you because you are good at what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was mainly changing. They didn't want to use like a different payment processor that integrates. Like a lot of them were using like checks and like Zelle for business and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, you got to start using Square or Stripe to have our setup work the best. And then they actually did it once I asked. I just didn't ask initially or tell them to do it.
So what about those lists that come through? Say someone doesn't have the time to organize them specifically for like, were they good? How much did they spend? Did they buy a repair or did they buy a install from me? Like, are you telling them to organize it? And if they don't, you drop them?
As
it,
in,
yeah,
what
go ahead.
what list are you referring to?
So say you're running a DBR and you need that list, but you need it organized so you can, run a targeted DBR. But if they don't organize it properly, you're gonna get a mix of everybody. You get the cheap, you get the guys that didn't actually buy anything from you. You got guys that have bought from you. Do you
Oh
run a
yeah, yeah.
message to all of them?
So for example, with Travis, he had two different offers he wanted to run for the spring, and I just had to been like, yo, you got to make me a list of who exactly you want this to go out to, and then I organized the contact list with tags. So
Yeah.
yeah, he just
Okay.
had to make the list for me.
Now
There's
let's
nothing I
say
could
they
do.
refuse though. Let's say they're like, I don't have time, refuse, and you still want to do it, right? What we did, because we had a guy like that. I won't say his name, but Grant, we had a guy like that who was pretty early on. He ended up leaving you that nice review, right? In the group. And he was like, oh, I
Oh
don't want
yeah.
to segment my list. He's like, I didn't have time for it. He just never did it. I think he worked with his brother and the brother never did it. So we just said, okay, well, if they don't do it, we can't run a DBR. So we're gonna keep going, and that's gonna still increase your conversions, get you reviews, but we can't just have that nice little push in the beginning that gets you a lot of traffic up front. And
Mhm.
and he honestly was just like, okay, because he understood I'm not doing it. How are they gonna? They can't, read my mind in terms of who did what. How are they doing it? We don't know.
Yeah.
Now, as they're coming in, remember, as they're coming in, that's where the system is now tracking those things. So then 3 months, 4 months in, then you can run DBRs. And if you have a full list of people and you
Mm.
don't know who did what, I would start with a review request campaign probably. And I would just explain like, hey, we're ready to grow, we're doing great. Because we're growing, we want to work with more people just like you. To do that, we would basically need reviews. Like, would you mind taking 41 seconds, 83 seconds? I don't know, make it some weird time. Like, would you mind taking 38 seconds, 42 seconds to leave a review? Day two. Hey, when you go to leave the review, do you mind sharing as much detail as you remember from the job we did? And then every 3 months, ask them for a review or something like that, right? Because if you're like, hey, I don't know who did what or who purchased what, I don't want to hurt the reputation. Let me just do a review request. And then that's a pretty
Yeah.
easy one to do because you can just see their names versus their Google business, who left review, who didn't. And then you can just go and tag them with left review. So then when you run your campaign, the first step needs to be if else. If tag left review is present, end automation. I don't want to ask them. If tag left review is not present, let's ask them.
Yeah. So then how are you guys positioning your offer for a DBR?
So the DBR, and I'll elaborate if you would like, because I don't want this to sound contradictory to what I said in the video, but the DBR is actually like the last offer that you would do. Because what the DBR is, the DBR is think about what it's doing. It's reactivating your database, which is pushing more contacts into the top of the funnel of the pipeline, right? Because you're basically saying, hey, we have this offer. Do you want it? Like, does this interest you, right? Even if you're asking for a review, you're trying to sell the concept of them leaving you a review. So the DBR is the last thing you do. Now, it's flashy and it's fun because marketing is fun and sexy. Like, I don't care what anybody tells you, the idea of I push people into a system and they give me money is fun and sexy. For me, and Grant is now, I don't want to speak for Grant, so he can tell me if I'm wrong, but Grant is now adopting this mindset too, which is marketing is great because you're driving traffic, but the fun is in the close, is in the sale. So what I do is I tell them, hey, we're going to set up a system that's going to track what you're doing, track the efficacy of what you're doing, and increase your closes. Then at the end of that, then we do the DBR because what's the DBR going to do? It's going to send them to the front, and then we're going to track those conversions, and then we're going to continuously do it. Basically, it sounds like kind of slimy, but basically trying to like ring them for money, right? Now, the way you ring people for money without being slimy is through value. So again, if you just bought an HVAC unit, you don't need an HVAC unit. If you did not have any snow or leaves or debris to clean up for your spring cleanup, don't buy it, right? If somebody calls and they say, I was talking to Jesse, the epoxy guy in our group. I was talking to Jesse and he was like, I was talking with somebody and they went to run ads. And Jesse did what I've been telling people, which is he said, I don't think he needs ads. So I actually downsold him. I could have made 1,500 a month. He downsold him to 500 a month. And he's like, the reason he did it, if you ask him, is because he said 1,500, he maybe would have paid me for a month or two. 500, I can make him enough money to where 1,500 makes sense. And now he trusts me because I downsold him. Now, he can still promote as soon as that guy is like, hey, he's seeing his funnel, he's seeing his back end. As soon as he can see, hey, we're making him enough money, then he can push and try to ring him for the upsell. Why? Because now it's not a zero sum game. It's not you give me money, I win, you lose. Now it's hey, you give me money, we're gonna help you make more money. But I only ask when I know you need it. That's the difference. And I position it for you. I don't position it for me. So I'm not going to say, Mateo, hop on and give me money. I'm going to say, Mateo, this is what you need. The way you get what you need is by giving me a little bit of what I need, but you're going to win more than I'm going to win.
Mhm.
So for example, HVAC can be the same way. So if you're selling for HVAC, why is clean air needed? Why are regulated temperature rooms needed in a home, in a business, right? And you're going through the value add of that. And that's where my favorite part, I was talking to Patricia about this yesterday. My favorite part of having a business is you have to be a nerd about your business. Like you have to be a weirdly freaky nerd about your business. Like I could talk about systems all day.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd with systems. Why? Because I like systems? No, because I have seen the impact they have. When you're talking about HVAC, why? Like there's a passion behind it. As stupid as it sounds, there's has to be a passion behind it. You ever seen the show Community?
Yeah.
You remember when like Troy like meets the HVAC guys?
Yeah.
Do you remember how they get a hold of his attention?
No. How does he do it?
They like mess with the air in his classroom and he's feeling the air on his neck. And he's like, that's not how it's supposed to be. So he goes back there and he fixes the machine. And the dean of the trades is back there and he's like, I knew it. He's like, I knew you were an HVAC guy. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm a college guy. He's like, no, you're a trade guy. And the way he did it was he just like sets the air off. And he's like, why did you do it? He's like, because air conditioning. He's like, room temperature. He's like, you shouldn't even notice it. He's like, when you feel it, when you hear it, that's when you know the unit is off. He's like, you shouldn't even notice it. You should just be like, wow, I am weirdly comfortable in this room. It's like this whole joke, but it's like that kind of passion translates. Because who
Yeah.
do you, and this is what I was talking to Patricia about, who do you want doing your HVAC? The guy who's like, oh yeah, let me look at it. Oh, it's whatever. Or the guy who's like, I'm gonna get it quiet and it's gonna be perfect air and you're gonna walk in and we're gonna have a thing that blows the bugs out, right? That's the guy who's like, oh yeah, this freak nerd is gonna be like setting me up with the stuff. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You don't want your doctor to be a jock. You don't want your computer guy to be buff. You don't want your chef to be skinny, right? Like you want them passionate about what they do.
Okay,
You
so
you
then what
want
would be like the transformation statement? Like say you want to run ads, right? I'm
yeah.
not saying we're going to run ads,
No, no, you're
but
fine.
you want this headline, right? To grab their attention and then push to VSL, and then everything you're talking about would be in the VSL.
Are you talking about for you as the agency?
Yeah, yeah,
So what I would do for the offer is what is the transformation that they want to accomplish? The HVAC unit, the HVAC company, right? What do they want
yeah.
to accomplish in terms of the transformation? So
Okay.
the very shallow answer, and if you read Hack and Growth, again, Hack and Growth is a phenomenal read because it covers the data point of everything. And it sounds boring, but it's really not. It's very, very entertaining, actually, which is I didn't think I would say, but it's very entertaining. So if you say, what does every business need? They're going to say more leads, more conversions. It's a very shallow answer because you know better than anybody, HVAC is blue collar. They don't operate like outdoor living, which is also blue collar. They don't operate, outdoor living does not operate like indoor remodeling. That's very similar. They don't operate the same. So you want to understand the exact problems and scenarios because when you do that, you can understand what they're actually experiencing. So if you're saying, hey, we help, this is the cliche one, we help HVAC guys get more leads without ads. That could work, but you want to dig deep into the pain point so that way when you speak, it really, really hones in on them, right? There's a reason why people split test their headers. Um, there's a company, I can't remember the name of the company, but they talk about it in the book. And he says, what they would do is they would take, so somebody would publish an article. They would take the article and they would create headlines and then they would republish the article. That was the whole thing the company did. They would just split test headlines and they were making like insane amounts of money because they would see what works better. And then they'd have their own case studies, their own white papers, yada, yada, yada. So what I would say is, what is the transformation that they want to achieve? And what are they worried about? So I would say, like, talk with them. That's one of the biggest things you can talk with them and say, like, when I say marketing agency, what do you think? When I
Scam.
say, okay, good, yeah, let's do it. We can do it right now because you're HVAC, right? I say marketing agency,
Yeah,
you say scam. Ready?
yeah.
Why?
Because I've worked with two other ones that promised the world and they didn't do anything.
Now, when you say promise the world, what do you mean?
They they
What did they tell
promised
you?
to give me 10 to 20 leads per month.
Okay, and what did they end up actually giving you? Did they give you more leads and they're just bad quality? No leads? Like what did that look like?
One was no leads, the other one maybe gave us like two.
Two. Okay. And how do you know how many leads they gave you?
I really don't. I don't know how many they gave me.
So pause. This is why we do the system. Think about this, system before marketing. Because now I can say, you can say, again, this is an experience you actually had. They sent me two combined, aggregate two. Now imagine I put my system together and I go, hey, we actually sent you 10 of them. Two that we sent you didn't convert, but do you know you actually closed the other eight and we actually made you like 8,600 this month?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Why? Because they don't set up the system first. The client that came to me that we just finished with Laurencio, they told me last year they had a company set up their form. The form didn't work. They lost every lead that filled out a form. They lost every one of them over a 3 month period. That's a lot of money. They were
Mhm.
not happy. System first, data first. That is the best thing that you can offer. Not only for them, but for you as well, because you can say, hey, no, 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 no. I sent you this money. You just didn't know, but I'm tracking it through the attributions, right?
Mhm.
So that's number one for you. But let's go back into the scenario that we were having, right? So you're saying, okay, you don't know. Of the two leads they sent you, did those pan out?
Uh, we closed one of them.
Okay, and what do you know? Do you mind sharing how much that one close was worth?
It was about 5,000.
5,000. And do you mind sharing how much you paid that agency per month?
It was performance based, so we paid them 5% of that.
So about 250.
Sure.
Okay. That's not a bad deal. Why did you end up dropping them?
because they didn't promise, or we didn't get the 10 to 20 leads that they promised.
Perfect. Now let's pause again. This is why I say stay away from quantitative promises. If you, oh my goodness, I can't remember the book, but they talk about being clear. You know what it is? I think it's Frankie Finn's Beyond the Agency Box. They talk about be clear on expectations. So, for example, if I say, watch this, same thing he just said, two scenarios. Mateo, we're gonna get you 10 leads, and they're gonna be qualified leads. Mateo comes back and says, I only got two, one closed, 5,000. We paid them 250. So that means you took home $4,750. Again, you've got your fees and everything. Let's just say revenue. That's not bad. That's not a bad return. I paid 250 to get, you know what I mean? 4750. That's
Yeah.
not bad. But how did they convey it? They conveyed it in a way where even when they won, they failed their expectations, right? Now, what if they flipped it and said, "Hey, Mateo, here's how what we're actually going to do." Because I don't know if you know this, these campaigns, they're run using what's called a pixel. The pixel is basically the system's AI, it's its brain. So what's going to happen is month one is going to be a horrible month because the system is going to be tracking who does this work with, who does this not work with. So you have to throw money at it to collect the data. Now, as we get more and more data, the system will say, okay, I believe we should put it in front of more and more and more qualified leads. So what you're going to see is month one, you might get one or two jobs. Month two, you might see two or four. Month three, you might see eight. Month 10, or month blah 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 blah, it starts going crazy. So because there's that slow period of that data collection, we have to commit to 3 months. Because if you see at the end of month one, you're not seeing what you want, you're going to fire us. And I'm telling you right now, you're not going to see what you want. I don't care who you go to. Anybody who tells you you are going to see that 10 to 20 leads is going to be lying to you. We're going to tell you how it actually is. So if you commit to 3 months, month one, you might be like, but you're going to know that we're right because it's going to do exactly what we said. Month two, you're going to be like, okay, maybe I'm not bought in, but maybe. Month three, you're going to be like, oh, heck yes, because we're going to have the data and the money to do it. Now, because we know we're only going to get 1 to 2 leads, what we should do with our campaign is focus on those really high ticket. So that way, if you close even one job, you're going to make your money back on what you're spending us that month. Does that make more sense? Now, let's say he says yes. Let's say we then go into that process. What happens month one? I got 2 leads, closed one, I made 4750. Did exactly what I said happen what happened? Yes. Did he make his money back a lot? Yes. Did he have a positive return? Yes. Do you think he's going to trust me now because exactly what I said was going to happen happened? Yes. Do you think he's going to be willing to go into month two? 100%. But it's
Mhm.
because I conveyed the expectations in a way that says Alec knows what he's doing versus these it's always these younger guys who are like, "Oh, 10 to 20 leads." And it's like, "Oh, I didn't get in month 1, so they're fired." It's like 10 to 20
So
leads, but what if I'm
then,
in a city of 5 people? How does that
yeah,
work?
yeah, that doesn't work at all. So then, like another conversation I had, because like these HVAC guys don't want to talk to anybody, especially once they find out like you're a marketer. They don't want to have a conversation with you at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one guy I did have a conversation. He wanted SEO. He worked with two other agencies, but it just takes too long to see results, and he has to still pay them monthly.
And he's
So
doing
like
SEO.
well, at the time it was like 2 months in, he saw no results, and he canned both of them.
And how long does SEO usually take?
It could take up to like 6 months,
And
I
so
would say.
there's a big gap in the expectations setting, but the
Yeah,
bigger issue is going to be, listen, SEO is a long game. PPC is an expensive game. You know what's a
yeah,
very cost efficient game? Systems. If we have a system
yeah.
that says everybody who comes in is leaving a review, if we have promotions going out, if we have more conversions, you're going to be very happy. Then we can reinvest into SEO because SEO is going to be a little bit cheaper, a little bit longer. Then we can reinvest into PPC, or we can wait, go PPC. Now you have more money, also add on SEO, right?
Okay. So then with that, with his poor experience, and now that he doesn't want to talk to any, like, how would you maximize on the potential of talking to as many HVAC owners in like such a short period of time?
So number one, they think I'm a scammer. Number two,
Yeah,
they hate marketers. I'm not going to
yeah.
position myself as a marketer. I'm
Well,
going
they're
to
gonna
position
find out
myself.
one way or the other.
I'm not saying lie. I'm saying I'm not a marketer. I'm going to say, listen, we're going to create a system that works on your process that is going to make sure that every client who comes through gets a perfect experience so we're maximizing reviews and referrals. Would you disagree that would you say reviews and referrals are your best or your worst leads?
They're the best.
So why don't we have a system that's based on the best? Now, now tell me what were you paying for SEO monthly?
$1,000 a month.
So what I have is going to get you reviews, referrals. It's going to make sure that you get in front of more people. Let me ask you, how many leads are you getting? What's your lead value? What's your conversion? What are you doing with the ones you're not converting? Great. I'm going to have a system for that. Then I'm going to drop them into your job management software. What are you using? House Call Pro. Perfect. We connect that easy. Then we're going to get a review. All of that is going to be for, I kid you not, $497 a month. So it's going to be half. You're going to see results. So it's half. You're going to see results instantly because if you're getting clients every month, we're going to be asking for reviews right away. So you're going to get results instantly. We're going to show you where you're making your money back. So that way, if you don't see a positive return, I'll fire myself. If we don't get you reviews off the people coming in, if we don't get you more conversations, or instead of firing myself, I'll work with you until you do for free. So you will not get charged a second time until we make your money back. It is a 100% guaranteed make your money back. And you can ask them, ask any HVAC guy. Ready? You send out a quote, and you can tell me, Mateo, like between like, just answer honestly. You send out a
Yeah.
quote over the phone or in person, and they say, I'll get back to you. What about now you go in person? What is your close rate in person versus over the phone or over text?
In person, you can have like 50 to 70%.
So would you say that having more in-person conversations is going to help you out?
Oh, 100%.
So if I have a system that puts you in front of them more often to have more in-person conversations, do you think that that would help you close more?
Yes.
There you go.
So I do like that approach. Like don't act as a marketer, act as like a systems guy or whatever.
Yeah. But now hang on,
Um
because the marketing does come into play.
no, I know it does.
So
Um
what I then do is I say, listen, once this is perfected, you have two options. Option one, or actually three options. Option one, you leave it. Option two, because your smaller man teams, they're going to want to leave it because they're going to be super happy with it. One, two man teams, they're going to be happy with it. Option
yeah.
two, you go hire somebody for SEO, there or market, whatever, hire somebody for traffic. Our system is going to show you exactly how they're performing. There's no guessing. We're going to show you exactly how they're performing because we're just going to set up attribution. The marketer is going to
Mhm.
love you because they're not going to be like, oh, we sent two leads. They're going to be like, hey, we sent eight and Mateo's proving it. Thank you. So what do you think that marketer is going to do? Mateo, can you come over here and do it for these idiots? Because they don't think I'm sending them leads.
Yeah.
Sure. Here's my setup fee and my monthly. Easy. I'll do that. Right? What do you think the business owner is going to do? Oh yeah, it's working or it's not working. They're not going to fire you because you're the guy who's like whispering in the air, like, nah, these guys, these guys are trash. You're like, all right, I can cut them because I have the numbers to prove it, right? So option
Yeah.
one, do nothing. Option two, go get traffic elsewhere. Option three, if Mateo and Michael want to do it, we can do traffic ourselves. And my favorite part is you don't even have to do the traffic. My favorite customers, they don't even ask me for traffic.
Mhm.
They send me a payment for 5 figures. We set up the system. We do growth hacking. Growth hacking sometimes throws in ads, but usually it's just looking at what's working and tailoring the messages to that. So
Okay.
now now the marketing is not just a marketing, it's systems because the system is based around growth. Go look at Dropbox, they're a file sharing company. They didn't grow using ads. They grew using a referral program that said when you work with me and we're going to share files, I'm going to give you 256 gigs for free. Go look at PayPal. PayPal said, "Hey, I'm going to send you a link so when you use my link and join, now I can send you money." Free to sign up and I get paid money and I don't have to wait for a mail in the check because that's how they used to do it for eBay, right? Easy. So you can look at opportunities to sell more using the data. Sometimes it will be traditional marketing silos, right? But not always. So now you're saying, hey, based off of the growth systems, here's what we're seeing, here's what we should test. Sometimes within that test will be Facebook PPC ads. Sometimes it'll be if you go look at the number one car salesman in the 70s. I can't remember what his name was. It was like 60s and 70s. He was outselling everybody else combined. They're like, what the bleep, bleep, bleep were you doing? He said all he would do was he would spend, again, this is back in like the 60s, 70s. So think about how much money this was. He would spend 3,000 a month on postcards. That's a lot of money back then. That's a lot of money today. That's a lot of money back then. 3,000 a month on postcards. He would mail them out to high income zip codes every month. So when they need to buy a car, who do you think they're going to? Go to him because that's what they keep seeing. So that was just using postcards. That's a method that still works
Mhm.
today. Remember, Facebook ads target a zip code. So now when you're going to do promotional efforts, it's not like, oh, we're running Facebook ads because they're sick of hearing that crap. I'm sick of hearing that crap. Now it's like, hey, based off the data we have collected, because that's actually your number one advantage point of having the system. Based off the data that we're collecting, this is what we believe is going to get you more clients. If the data tells you smoke signals and put on a hula hoop and dance, do it. Hopefully it's not going to, right? Maybe you got your beach bod ready. I'm working on mine. But whatever the system tells you to do it, right?
Okay.
So now when you go into marketing, you can tell people, hey, if we go into marketing, this is what it's going to look like. But we're not a marketing agency, we're a systems agency, or we're a growth agency, or we're right. And I would reposition it.
Cool. And then from your experience, how are you reaching out to your, like without ads? So you're doing your outreach.
Mhm.
How are you reaching out and positioning yourself to explain that?
Very good. Number one, demand side sales for yourself as well. How do people perceive what we do? How can I communicate it in a way that they're not uh, non-receptive to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, when you do that, make sure I know you're HVAC, don't do it to yourself. Do it
Yeah.
with somebody else who's an HVAC. When you do that, don't convince them of anything. Don't say, well, we do this. Ask them, how do you perceive this? How would you perceive it if I phrased it this way? Instead of saying, oh, well, we actually do this, say, well, how do you perceive it if I phrase it like this instead? Oh, that's better. Good. Continuously tweak it. And they're like, yeah, okay, I can see that. Then you have something to work with.
Or
And
then
then
are you going into groups posting that, or are you just gonna like cold
other people's
DM and
audience, yeah, OPAs, other people audience. I
okay.
don't care if it's a
Yeah.
Facebook group. I don't care if it's a Reddit group. I don't care if it's an in-person group. I don't care if it's a senior home knitting party. Okay. Other people's audience. I have a client. He makes about 380,000 or 330 a month. He makes 330,000 a month. He pays himself 80K a month. Okay. Poor Chinese immigrant. Bad English. I said, "How did you get in the market?" He said, "I studied watches because he couldn't afford watches." He said, "I studied rich, like expensive watches. I would go to expensive places like a bar. You don't have to pay money to sit in a bar. You can just sit there and sip on water. I would see the watch and I'd say, 'Oh, was that a so and so?' And like, 'Oh yeah, you know it.' Conversations.
Yeah.
I know a guy who spends 300 some a month for a gym membership. Dude, I'm a Planet. I like Planet Fitness. Like I go to like those like rink-a-dink gyms that are like 15 bucks a month. It's like some dude's basement and all the weights are like rusted. You know what I mean? Like he pays 300 some a month. You know why? Because who spends 300 a month on a gym? Rich people. He's just connecting with rich people all the time. And this
Mhm.
sounds so stupid. I live in a building, not cheap, not cheap. I take my dogs down. Do you know how many clients I've met at the dog park? I kid you not, I'm in Crocs. They're like fresh out of they're like in a robe or something. Right? It's like they got on like the nightgown, like the what's it called, like the hair caps, right? Or they're in like gym shorts, whatever. They go down. We're like literally picking up dog poop next to each other. Talking to a guy last night. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a business consultant. Boom. It's like if you just operate where two things. Number one, people with money operate, and number two, where your clientele operate. Job trade event. Laurencio, a guy in the group, he goes to a job trade event. He does systems with me. Before he did systems with me, he still understood a lot of the language. The CEO of JobTread, he said the CEO or the owner, I can't remember which position. He said the owner of JobTread, whatever it was, high up in JobTread, gets on the microphone. He's like, "Hey, real quick, who out here uses JobTread for their business?" And of course, like 98% of the hands go up. He goes, "Of your hands, leave your hand up if you know what an API is." He said everybody's hand went down but four people, right? And he goes, "Get with those four people because they can revolutionize how you use JobTread in your business." He's like, right there, just by being at the job trade event, the literal company owner just got up and was like, get with those guys. Now he has a client, which is his actual boss. He built a system. Boss loves it because he goes through the system because I helped him build it. So boss loves it, obviously, because I know I'm good at what I do. How do I know I'm good at what I do? Because I asked him what the process is and I just built it. And then we just tested it until it worked. That's it. Not because I'm cocky, because I just shut up, sit down. I was actually humble and I said, how do you do it? Have you thought about doing this way? No? Would you consider this way? Oh, that won't work? Okay, scratch that off. It's just a conversation. That's it. Right? Have the whole thing mapped out. Took 2 weeks.
Mhm.
His boss is now in job trade Facebook groups saying, get with Laurencio, get with Laurencio, get with Laurencio. The case study is going to be filthy, filthy, because their conversion rate was in the toilet. So he's going to have by August, he's going to have a case study, a thrilled boss who's like, go find him, go work with him. And those are going to be easy 10 to 50K deals because the return is filthy, the system is extremely in depth, and then you're doing a custom website. And he has two offers, one in 3 months, one in 1 month. That's basically what I'm telling him to do. I have a 3 month offer, 1 month offer. So I can build the whole system out in 3 months, 10K. I can build it all in 1 month, 20K. Because if I can build you out in 20K and I'm helping you close huge custom deals, you're gonna make your money back way faster. If you don't have the cash flow, you want to do 10K, that's fine. You're gonna miss out on some deals, but at least you save some money, right? Whatever you prioritize, we don't care.
But how are you supposed to prove that to someone that if you have nothing behind you, to spend 10 grand and like, they're taking a chance with you to make that money back. You can say that, look, even if like two leads come in and you close them, you make 40 grand, but that you don't have any proof of that.
So your first client, you do for cheap. His first client, he did for 1,500.
Okay.
His next client is gonna be between 10 and 20K because he's gonna have that
See,
case
like
study.
the owners that I was talking to, they don't care about the money. They actually just care about the result, right? So if you have nothing to prove, they'll give you the 1,500, but you have nothing to show for it. So why would they give you the 1,500?
That's where the process comes into play. Because I'm sorry, the process map comes into play. Because what you'll do, and this is what Laurencio did. So Laurencio's like, he comes to me, he goes, I think some people with the company are gonna have problems with this because it's a new setup, right? And I go, walk them through the process map and just ask them the questions. What do we do with people that we don't convert? How many jobs fall through the cracks? How long does it take to do a 5 minute task because you're waiting on somebody to tell you, hey, we're ready to go? I said, just ask him those questions. He comes back to me 2 days later. He goes, dude, I asked him the questions. He's like, it was like a light went off in their head. They started thinking, oh, wait, could we do this? And could we do that? Oh, and this is another problem we have. And he's like, they went from not liking the system in 1 week. They went from not liking the system or the idea, because they hadn't seen it yet. They didn't like the concept of the system, from recognizing, this is what he told me. He said they realized how badly we're doing things and now they're excited for the system. He has no proof
Mhm.
before that. Zero proof before that. He's just going through the process of asking those questions.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I go, hey, Mateo, why is it that you put your shoe on your bare foot and then a sock over your shoe? Like, why don't you put the sock on first and then the shoe instead of doing it the wrong way and then fixing it? And then you go, I don't know. And then you go, what else am I doing stupid?
Yeah.
That's what happens every time. And I'll show them a process map and I'll go, and let's say they're like, I don't know. I'll go, well, let me ask you this. Do you think the big businesses are doing this? Oh, yeah, 100%. And you want to be a big business? Yeah, but you don't have this. So where you got to without it it's extremely impressive. How much further do you think you would go if you had something that did what the big businesses are doing that you think that you could already overtake? Oh, we go to the moon. No, I've done it before. No, I've whatever. And for anyone who's like, oh, well, yeah, obviously, Alec, you look like a schizophrenic talking to yourself and doing it. That's how these conversations go all the time. Every time. Because you're like, oh, how are you doing things? I'm doing things ass backwards. Oh, how's that working out for you? Well, it's ass backwards. Have you thought about doing it forwards? Uh, yeah, but we don't even know how we would get to that point. Check this out. I'll do this for you. We can map out your whole process. I'll do the whole thing for you. Once I have my case study, because of the sheer amount of return we're going to have, this is going to be priced at 4K, 5K, 8K, 10K, whatever currency you want, right? Of course, within reason. It's going to be priced at whatever number. But I am looking for somebody to get to that point first, which means I have to do a ton of work for pennies on the dollar. So if you're interested, you could cover just my base fees. I'll make nothing on this. You get the full system. You get my full undivided support because I'm your first client, and you'll get it for 1,500. And I'm pretty sure Adelina can speak to this because I think this is the script she's going through right now.
Mhm.
Unless if you're comfortable talking about that, Adelina.
Yeah, no. So I think I was like before I was kind of like didn't have clarity on the offer. And I didn't really know what I was saying previously. And then I just followed this exactly what you're saying, like the system, how it's going to benefit them, and then working their numbers against them. So I think the last two calls that I've had, I was charging 1.5K and then slowly moved up to 2K. And the one that I've got just now, I haven't closed him yet, but I was brave enough to actually cost it at 3K. So yeah, I've got a call with this guy tomorrow. He was interested. He just wants to visually see like the flow chart and like the go high level automations. And then that's literally it. But one thing I would say is if you use Alex's system and just use like the structure that he tells you to do, just do it even word for word. I've literally copy pasted it on a spreadsheet. So as I'm going along, I'm actually looking at the objections and just following every single question that they have with an answer. And it actually works. Like, I think you mentioned something about being, I don't know, have you got any clients at the moment, Mateo, or?
We got one, but it's not on this,
Yeah.
it's not on this offer.
Yeah, like when you said, I think you mentioned something about like about when it's like, how do you how do you prove that the system works? And I use something that Alec used before, which is the catch. So I say to them, you might be thinking there is a catch, and yes, there is a catch. I've done this before for previous clients, but now I'm doing this on my own on a one-to-one basis, fully customized to your specific systems. And then I say something like, now I know you might be thinking 3K is a lot, but you just told me your ticket price is 20K, which is literally what this guy is charging, 20K per project. And I said, if I can get you at least one job within 90 days, you're going to be getting your money back way more. So you're guaranteed either way to win. So that's literally, just be honest. And you know what he said after that, by the way? He was like, I really appreciate your honesty. You sound like a very genuine person, and you're someone that I would love to work with. Literally, just be vulnerable, honestly. Just tell them, like, this is the beginning of your journey.
Yeah.
They do appreciate it. Because, some, like, it's true, yes, they want to see the result. They want to see that this works. But when you give that guarantee and you're honest with them, I've noticed that they appreciate it. I was nervous about saying this, I'll be honest with you, when Alec was saying just basically explaining the catch, I remember at the time thinking like, yeah, but is that going to work? Like, but actually it works, just being honest, be yourself. So yeah, that's kind of the input that I would give on that. Yeah.
And Adelina, at what point did you say, like, just to put it in perspective for everybody else, because one of the things I like about Adelina is that she's like me, where she's just like very vulnerable. I don't know if it's because we don't know what we should keep private,
Yeah,
or maybe
I
we just
am.
like talking.
Yeah.
But Adelina, at what point were you just like, screw it, let me just do it the exact way? Like, as scary as that probably felt.
Um, I think what it was, I was overwhelmed with other like, you watch YouTube and they say, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. And then they say, and you're like, actually that works, but then I think I think I was trying to, like I said before, like I was trying to kind of force this out and trying to be someone that I'm not. Literally, that's what I was trying to do. And then I thought, you know what? This just sounds more genuine. Let me just detach myself from the outcome and just be me. Just do it. Just trust the process. That's what it was. I think it was the moment I just thought, you know what? Just trust the process. Just see like how, see for yourself if this works. And it actually works. I'm telling you, it actually works. It's mind blowing. And I just can't wait to get on the phone with people. That's how I'm kind of closing them at the moment, because these guys, they don't have time to go on Zoom calls. Like I've targeted HVAC before. I know how it is with the HVAC guys, roofers. They don't have time. So what I'm doing now is I'm probably DMing them on Facebook. And if I don't get a response, I'm picking up the phone and I say, oh, by the way, I know you guys are busy. I appreciate it. I appreciate your what you do. I just thought I'd pick up the phone and, rather than going back and forth. And then I would say, look, I've got this system. I'm not a marketing agency. Like, I don't bring you leads that you can't really convert. And I always say, like, what's the point of me giving you 20 leads if you can only convert one, right? He's like, oh yeah, like I've been there before. I know how it is. So I say, let's work with what you have now. And how could we, I know it sounds stupid, but basically I say things like, how can we, like, the analogy I use is, how can we squeeze a lemon, until it's like completely gone? That's literally what I say to them, rather than just letting the lead slip through the cracks. And then if they are interested, then I'll follow up with a Zoom call. But yeah, just explain that, like the system, how it works. And one thing is, though, I've watched videos again and again, like we have group calls. I'll go back and watch them and make notes. That's literally what I will do. That's what I would say to do as well, because a lot of this information that Alec gives, it can be a bit overwhelming. like what you're here now and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but then you'll go away and you forget about it. So use the information, implement it straight away. That's how it's going to work, and be consistent every single day.
Yeah.
But yeah, because a
Yeah.
lot of your questions that you're asking now, that's literally where I'm at the moment and where I was at like even a week ago, 2 weeks ago. But it's amazing how quick you can learn if you just put in the right, the move, do the right moves basically.
Yeah.
Are you still going after the HVAC industry?
No, no, no. I went after like just general builders.
Like a
That's
lot of
how.
blue collar guys you
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did HVAC, roofers, remodeling kitchen. I even, what I noticed is I remember a year ago I did a Facebook group on remodeling, kitchen remodelers, and I noticed that it's actually there's a lot of people in there that I completely forgot about. But it took me a while to actually find like my niche. Like I had a lot of like people like rejections and people just not. I had to find out the tough way, basically, like especially roofers, the amount of roofers that I had on calls, like that just completely ghosted me. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable
I
until I
can't stand
found,
roofers.
yeah.
We were talking,
So
Adeline and I were talking about that. We could not stand that avatar.
I would, me personally, like, yeah, I want to stay away from roofers. Yeah, like definitely not the kind of guys I want to work with. But yeah, just stick to the process. It actually works. It's unbelievable. And then yeah, that's how I got my first client by, I mean, I guess I was in the right place at the right time because he wanted a website. And then I was like, okay, let me do your website via Go High Level. And then he's still paying me since, I think it was since December. He's still paying me 99 a month and he's really happy. Um, and then, yeah, it took me a month or two to kind of go out there, do a lot of, like, I've done cold calling, cold emailing, uh, a lot of things basically. But I think for me now, Facebook DMs is working. Again, Facebook DMs, I had a lot of rejection there, and I've just changed the strategy and now done a lot of testing. You've got to do a lot of testing before you know what works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a lot more confident. Obviously, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but definitely on the right path. And I do believe it's a matter of time before it just clicks. You have to believe that it will work. You have to believe in the offer as well. And I mean, this offer, like this sales system, is just, it doesn't get any better than this, really. Like before, I mean, I'm just thinking about before how sending leads to a company and you think that's it, you think that's value. Like that's not even valuable, really, is it? Like sending leads to a company, you're actually fixing the a lot of issues with this sales system. So yeah,
Yeah, the best thing I can say is like if you're because you're gonna feel lost. Anytime you're doing something new, you're gonna feel lost. If you can try to implement it, you will what'll happen is it's like the best way I can explain it is like I tell you 2 + 2 is 4. That makes sense. But until you experience, you buy 2 oranges and then you had 2 oranges at home and you see, oh, there's actually four. Oh, 2 + 2 really is 4. It's almost like you understand it on a DNA level. So it's like when you, and that's what I was telling Adelina. I told Adelina verbatim, she can tell you. I told her the second I put out my sales scripts, like they're dead because everyone has them.
Mhm.
So when she was telling me, okay, well, I'm testing a lot of them, I said, good, keep testing. And I say, and anything I tell you, I even told her this. I said, if I tell you something and your way gets better results, ignore what I tell you because you're testing, you're actively doing it. But the difference is that like think about it like in a race. Like I'm here, Adelina's here. I'm saying use these methods. She goes, okay, using the methods, using the methods, using the methods. Oh, split testing her methods. She's gonna start passing, and her scripts are gonna become better because she's actively using them. Grant does the same thing. Grant goes, okay, I'm gonna use Alex's method, and then I'm gonna use them, use them, use them. Now I understand the purpose, like the intent behind the scripts. Let me play with them and make them my own, and let me change them based on how the conversation's going. Now Grant's like, I'm getting calls, calls, calls. Like we actually had to pause the calls because we were trying to develop this process a little bit better. So
Definitely.
a lot of it is like number one, like having that offer, which ties back into what they're doing. And the way that you tie back into what they're doing is don't, if you have to convince anybody of anything, you're dead in the water. So the question is, how do I convey what I'm doing is of value? Number one, is it of value? Number two, how do I convey it's of value? Number three, where do I convey it's of value? So that's product market fit, language market fit, channel market fit, or market channel fit. So basically, what am I offering them? We know the sales system piece is working really well across those industries because the biggest issue is everybody's trying to push marketing, SMMA and marketing and social media content, organic content. It's like, okay, great. You're getting people coming up to you and showing interest. That doesn't, interest does not translate. That's conversion one. Who is showing interest? Conversion two, who is taking action? Conversion three, who is following up with that action? Conversion four, who's putting money where their mouth is? Who's staying through to the job? Who's leaving a review, right? It's all those different conversion points. So marketing agencies basically say, hey, we're going to get attention. You take it from there. If you're saying, hey, that's scam. And so, Mateo, for you, if you're making your headlines, I would villainize that. Think about it, I would villainize it because for me, I get passionate talking about it because I've seen people lose money on that. But I would villainize it heavily. I'd be like, listen, those guys telling you we'll get you 10 to 20 leads, they're full of crap. They're full of crap. How are you going to tell me a generic statement you don't even know who I'm doing? You're promising me something that you can't deliver, that you don't even know if you can deliver. You're just telling me you'll do it, right? And then what happens? Go through this, go through the whole scenario. What happens? You hire them, they maybe send you one lead that goes somewhere, nothing else. They don't do anywhere near what they told you, or they'll tell you to change all these things that you don't want to change in your business. And you know their business. They don't even know they don't even know HVAC. They'll take any company that throws money at them, right? You need somebody who actually gives you value. What is value in the HVAC business? Well, let's look at what HVAC guys actually want. And how do I know what they want? Because guess what? I'm an HVAC, right? This is what HVAC guys want. They want clients that are happy to pay them, that see the value, and that are so happy with their work, they're going to send you reviews or give you reviews and send you referrals. All right, like think about it. Would you be upset? Who would you rather have? The guy who likes what you're doing, pays you, gives you a review, sends you a referral, or the complete opposite? He hates you, he doesn't want to give you money, he trashes you and doesn't send you referrals. What would you rather have? It's a no-brainer. So how do we get that? This is how we get that. Number one, we look with their process that's already working well. Number two, we're going to systemize it. Number three, once we've systemized it, now because it's online or it's in some kind of system, we can track the numbers and we can start saying, hey, what if we tweak this? What if we tweak that? That's going to lead to more conversions, which is going to lead to more money in your back pocket for a flat rate. As you get more money, you can decide, is it time for me to upgrade my website and even add more fuel in the fire? Is it time now to move into SEO, now to move into ads, now to move into direct mailers, right? But we're going to do it all based off the data that we know is factual, is certain, is concrete because we do the system first. And if you watch that 3.5 hour video, that's what I basically say, like, don't go marketing to fulfillment. It's backwards. Can you do HVAC? Yes. Now we set up the conversion system. Now we drive traffic to the conversion system. Because if I try to market something I have no checkout for, it's not going to go well. If I try to market something I can't do, hey, I do HVAC. If you call Alec to an HVAC site, some I don't know, they might gun me down or something, right? It's not gonna. I'm gonna light the house on fire somehow, right? I'm working with coolant and the house catches on fire, right? How does that make sense? Like only Alec would do that, right? So I have to be able to be an HVAC guy before I can tell people I'm an HVAC guy, before I can sell HVAC, before I can tell people I'm an HVAC, right? So if you walk them through that process, it's like, hey, they're skipping this middle piece. That's why you think they're a scam. Because guess what? They're inexperienced. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand your business the way we understand your business. I know what it's like. Think about it. Like, I'm going to take a best guess, but you can do better than me. I know what it's like to get up at 5 a.m. and you got a job halfway across town. And when you get there, the outdoor unit is locked up and you can't get into it. I know what it's like to have a customer who's questioning every little thing about the coolant. I know what it's like to have a customer who tells you one thing and they swore they didn't try to fix the duct themselves, but look, they did, and you know, because they use this crap, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I know it's like when and put in every story. I know what it's like when they lie about the, I don't know, water heater or I don't know, right? But I know what it's like when insert all these funny stories that every HVAC guy's encountered.
Yeah.
And then you can end it with, I know what it's like to pay a marketing team that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And your headline can be like, HVAC marketers are a scam.
Because running an ad like that, though, you'd end up targeting, like, I know it doesn't really matter with this system, but you would target the lower um, revenue companies that are making like 200,000 a year. Because if they're if I'm telling a story about like customer issues, he's most likely still working in the business. But if we want those high dollar owners, they're not in the business. They won't relate so much to those stories,
Maybe. And that's a good point. Maybe. But if
right?
they're doing 200,000 a year, could they afford a 2K setup in 300 a month, 500 a month?
Probably not. Maybe.
Maybe. So I would look at who could afford my rate and what problems are they
Yeah.
having, and they're still going to have a conversion rate. Or it could be, hey, these guys have a bigger issue with tracking job completion or just conversions at mass, right?
And
Mhm.
I think Alex always realized that because as you know, Alec doesn't have like a huge personal brand, but he has like these crazy projects he works on. And I think when you're really starting to get into working with those companies doing, 1 to 6 million a year, it's gonna come through this like it's going to come through this kind of personal connection. Like I know this guy of that guy of that guy, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I did locally. That's what I'm starting to do locally. I tapped into this. I tapped into like a few networking groups, and I've made. I didn't even. I so the biggest thing I think helped when it came to getting into those networking groups and like really like setting a foundation in them is not going in there selling. Like I just went there and made really good friends and added them on my personal Facebook and stuff. Like unless there was an actual relevant conversation about, you know, something I could actually like value add, I just went in there and had friends with like I'm like the owner of the networking group. He has a huge landscaping company that I'm about to work with, and we're like planning on going like duck hunting next month. You know what I mean? Like you just make
Nice.
these friends and you add them on Facebook. And it's actually the owner of that networking group that really has me thinking about this idea of more putting more personal stuff so like having a lot of people on my personal Facebook and then really just having like friendship based post on it. Like it's just like so
Yeah.
it's like this indirect thing. That's really how you're going to get in front of those big companies. Like those big companies aren't going to join your Facebook group. They're not going to engage in your ad. It's going to be, oh, Drake knows Grant and Drake knows this guy who owns Home Love Construction, and then that Home Love Construction guy knows this guy in Miami who builds like whatever, who builds apartment complexes or makes pools or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see
Yeah.
what you're going with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. It's just like
Yeah,
it's
introductions.
just going in and making friends with the right people. Like not even
Yeah.
trying to sell. Like it will indirectly happen.
Just talk to as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having those and the thing too is like if you look at Grant closing like these bigger guys that are coming up, that's gonna be through introductions. But because Grant is also working with the small and medium sized businesses, he can say, "Oh, this is what we do, and here's proof of concept."
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
then
I
they
had
go,
them.
"Oh, like what would that look
Yeah.
like for my business?"
Yeah, the like my YouTube and group like linked on my profile just subtly right there. Like that like I couldn't really do the selling if I didn't at least have that showing something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's like a resume. It's like a digital resume almost.
And
yeah.
how are you keeping the group so active? Like, are you posting more than the people who are in the group, or are the people in the group posting more than
No,
you?
we post pretty much all. We get like a trickle of, but it's mostly solely our content, and it's just
Okay.
posted every day. It goes in waves with engagement, but the engagement, what Alec told me and what I've seen is that like it doesn't matter as much because it's a group of 400 people that all business owners, and no matter what, they're seeing and clicking on everything just like you would on Facebook. Like
Yeah,
I've had
that's true.
conversations with people I haven't met in the group or talked with in DMs, or they haven't posted anything, and they'll randomly DM me like, "Yo, this is like a really cool like video. Like I implemented it, and this happened, and this happened," and you're like, "Oh, like no one even liked that post. I didn't think anyone
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
that."
Yeah.
yeah. Grant came to me and he was like, "Dude, this post has 2 likes. This post has 0 likes. What's happening?" I'm like, "They're still reading it. They're not engaging the way marketers might engage because we're online all day." I'm like, "They're still reading it." He was like, "All right." It was kind of like Grant's like way of being like, "I don't know." And then like a week later, he's like, "Dude, this guy said he's like read half my posts and seen like 3 videos or something like that." And he was like, "But they never engage." I'm like, "Yeah, it's so annoying." But just being there, like they see it, they read. I have people who come to me and they'll be like, I'll get a reply notification. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm interested. Can I DM you?" And I'm like, "What post is this?" And I'll open it. It'll be like from like 2 years ago. I'm like, "Yeah, yes." And I'll close people off with like stuff like from 2 years ago because they're just going in and reading it.
Or it's even like Jesse's post in SASO of A to P document that has like one like. I'm on the document right now, and I kid you not, there's like 9 people on the document.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They don't engage. Yeah, people don't engage.
Yeah.
One thing you can do is I tell Grant all the time, like make bait posts where you're just baiting engagement. So I think Grant did one where he was like, it was like right after the election because everyone was telling Grant like, I'm not doing anything unless Trump's book. Because if Trump's not gonna win, then economy's in the toilet. And then Trump made it, and I think Grant made it. Tell me if I'm wrong, Grant, but there's some post like, do you think the economy's gonna go up from here? It was like after the election, right? And we were gonna post it whether Trump won, Kamala, it didn't matter. We are gonna post it, right? Bernie Sanders could have won somehow. We would have posted it, and
Oh yeah.
it just got engagement.
And I remember the one business owner, Alec Drake, that guy, he does a lot of really good personal branding like for his referral partners. So he has like a really good active Facebook profile. And he also is active in some of the local groups. And he was telling me a story where this happened a few weeks ago. He went on like the I Love St. Pete group because it's a pretty active local group because I'm
Yeah.
in like the Tampa Bay area. And he went in there and he posted a video of like a short form video of his face. And he goes, I'm looking for networking groups or networking events in whatever in St. Pete
In
because
St. Pete, yeah, yeah.
he knows that those posts get a lot of engagement like when people are asking for those because there's so many. And he knows that indirectly a bunch of people are going to click on his profile. And he closed like this like mansion like outdoor kitchen build like from like an
Oh my
indirect.
gosh, that's so much money.
Yeah, literally. And it's just him being like friendly, personal. Like he'll just post jokes and crack jokes on his personal profile and post random funny stuff. And he really does it to just keep his and referral. It's funny because one of my clients literally taught me something about marketing. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it keeps his referral and his referral base like really active.
Yeah, and that's the thing you guys are gonna see me do with my personal brand is I'm gonna have all my brands verified and they're gonna be all like very personal brands. Like I'll be like, here's my wife and kid, here's what we're doing, mixed with business. Because people like who people like. Like for example, there's guys in I'm not political at all. There's guys in the high level group that I know actively hate Trump. I couldn't care less. I'll probably never meet the man. They hate Trump. And they're posting, they're like, oh, a whole bunch of stuff. And then in their comments, people will be like, wow, I agree with you. And then they'll be talking all the time. And some people will be like, I can't stand Trump. Some people do the opposite. I love Trump. I hate Trump. Right? It doesn't matter. Sports team. Watch this. Mateo, what is your favorite sports team ever?
Raptors.
Raptors. Right away,
Oh,
you probably irritated some people,
yeah.
right? Like I have seen people close deals because they're like, I'm a Raptors fan, you're a Raptors fan. Hey, we should work together. The stupidest stuff ever. Go listen to Mark Zuckerberg talk about hiring his growth team. So he had a growth hacking team. He had, it wasn't his growth team, I think it was his C-suite or something like that. I can't remember the position, but he was going through these people nonstop. Phenomenal resumes. He was just like, nope, 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 nope. So the lady, I can't remember the lady's name. She's Indian, and I'm very bad at pronouncing the Indian names, but it's a very long name, like 5 or 6 syllables, very long name. She's extremely intelligent. I love her stuff. And she basically she says she went to Mark and she goes, Mark, why do you keep firing them? And he's like, I don't like them. And she goes, how about this? How about we hire somebody you like and then train them? What a crazy concept. And he goes, yeah, let's try it. But again, think about it. He's hitting his head against the wall because he keeps hiring people he doesn't like, but they're qualified. And you know what they found? They found that from Facebook, they found that internally, if you hire people you like working with, you're going to be more successful. Holy cannoli, right? When you work with people, like I've closed clients at the gym. I've closed clients picking up dog poop in my dog park. I've closed clients who hated me 3 months ago because they didn't like what I said. Then they did it on their own. They went, wow, this is not working. Alec might be right. Let me go give him a second chance.
Yep.
I've closed the stupidest relationships ever. But it's just like people will like you just because of like you being personal. And the best part is when you're personal, you can just be yourself. So the people who hate you and they would have hated you either way, they're going to be repelled from you.
Mhm.
Why would they get on a call with you? I hate the Raptors. Okay. That's a big enough deal for me not to want to work with you. Then go away. Like, what do I care? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I hate your religion. I hate your sexuality. I hate your political beliefs. I hate the state you live in. I hate the country you live in. I hate the fact that you eat meat and I'm a vegetarian. Go away. I don't. Okay, congrats. Like, who cares? And then the other people could be like, hey, I'm just like you. Sweet. So now I can work with somebody who's just like me, loves what I do, gives me money, right? So those OPAs, other people's audiences, like you should be living in those groups. I told Grant when he was starting out, I said you should be spending 2 to 4 hours a day in other people's audiences. Now, what I love about working with Grant, because I'm tough with Grant, and I also give him a lot of credit because he does a really good job. So I'm not just saying this because I'm like, wow, I like Grant. I'm tough on Grant. And that's half this reason he's as good as he is. The other half is he's really good at what he does and he executes. But I told him, I said, hey, you should be in other people's audience. I didn't tell him join local groups. He's like, I joined local groups. I didn't tell him join 10 Facebook groups. He never said I joined one, is that enough? He was like, I joined as many as I could find. He's like, I even joined non-landscaping groups that are just local to me.
Mhm.
So Grant's the guy who's like, I'll be like, hey, go do this. And he's like, done. He'll ask the question after he does it. He'll fall with his face into the sidewalk, and then he'll be like, hey, what did I do wrong? And that's why he's moving so well. But yeah, just hanging out in other people's audiences is huge.
Um, Alec, have you got time to answer a quick question?
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
Grant, real quick, I sent you a message on Facebook about that DBR if you want to take a look.
All right.
But yeah, go ahead, Adeline.
yeah, sure. So the guy that I've got a call with tomorrow, the Zoom call, he said he will send me. I haven't even checked my WhatsApp actually. I don't have my phone on me, but he said he's going to send me some more accurate numbers this evening so that we
Okay.
can discuss tomorrow. But initially, yesterday, from the notes that I've taken, he said that he gets most of his work, like 75% from designers. And he said the rest are like just from Facebook ads that he does on his own. But he said
Mhm.
that the leads are really bad. And he said that the others are referrals. So from Feb to now, he's basically got 20 leads and he's closed 10. But 75% of that work is from like designers. And
So,
then what
yeah, watch it, Mateo, watch this. She's saying the leads are coming from designers. So this is like an example of growth hacking for the 80/20. I don't have to run marketing efforts. I can say, hey, how can I get more designers to send me more leads? So that'd be a
Mm,
non-marketing, a non-traditional silo for marketing. So
I
I would
didn't even
say,
think of that.
Okay.
I'd say if they're sending me leads and that's the high quality one, how can I get more of those?
Yeah. Okay.
So then the question
Um,
is, where do they hang out? How can I be there where they hang out? How can I put myself in front of them? How can I incentivize them to send me leads? Maybe I give them a kickback. Maybe if I'm a landscaper, I can work with designers and I can even refer designers. So maybe now it's a two-way street, a two-way referral partnership, right?
mm, mm, yeah. Okay. Um, so I think what he was saying, that's great. I didn't think of that. But I think what else he was saying is that he would love to get leads from other like avenues, not just designers.
So
And
pause,
then
ask him why.
yeah.
Because it might be a matter of, well, I don't want to have to pay them a kickback,
Mm,
right?
mm,
It might be
okay.
a matter of, well, shouldn't I have more avenues? And you can say, if it's working, it's working. Like, well, let's worry about that later. Let's get you some clients, then let's look at that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
So,
he would, yeah.
so start with understand why, because that why might reveal, oh, you're absolutely right. We got to get away from that, or it might be there's no good reason why. Let's double down on that.
Yeah. Okay.
But keep going. Yeah,
Um,
just adding little
yeah.
notes as I hear them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, no, that's really useful. Thank you. I think what he was saying, basically he was saying to me, I absolutely love this system and I do believe it will work. He said, I'm just worried that I don't have enough numbers to make this work. And then that's where I said, okay, like, are you sure these are your numbers? And he was like, you know what, actually, let me go back to these numbers and WhatsApp you so that we can prepare for the Zoom call tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And then he wants to obviously visually see how the automations work because
Yeah.
it's a big like I'm charging him 3K. So
Yeah. So when you
and
show the
obviously,
automations, here's the best thing I can tell you when you show the automations.
yeah.
He does not want to know what the automations do. Or maybe
Hmm.
he wants to know what they do, but he doesn't care about how they work.
Mm,
Because that would be like me saying, show me how a HVAC unit works. Show me how that it's like Is that
Mm.
really what they want? No. Why does he want to know how it looks or how it works?
I think he wants to see the value of how what is the end result of this, like he wants to visually see, because I obviously told him this is the point of referrals and this is how reviews will work. Like how, for example, I said, look, if he's been in business for 10 years and I think he's got like 5 Google reviews. So I said, look, with the automation, we will basically go back to your past clients and ask them for a review.
Mhm.
And then you'll get more reviews on Google, which will increase your Google ranking, and you'll get inbound leads, people coming to you. Um, so I think he wants to visually see how the automations work. I don't know. I think it's more like the value, really. I think that's where he's stuck. It's not so much the price. He wants to see the value. And obviously, with the fact that he did ask me what of the objections were, how do I know that it's going to work? And then I use
That's
the
what he actually wants to know.
Yeah.
yeah,
He doesn't care about what the system looks like.
yeah. I think that's it.
He wants to
Um,
know if it's going to work. And so he thinks by seeing it, he's going to see, is it even there? I had a client once who was like, can you
I
open,
think so.
I was showing him the back end. He goes, can you open that automation? I go, yeah, I opened it. And he goes, oh, I thought it was going to be empty. Like he thought I was just lying about what was in there.
Ah,
And
yeah,
I opened it. I was like, yeah, right here, this one. And he's like, there's actually stuff in there. I'm like, yeah, what do you think this was? So what
yeah.
I do, this is the best advice I can give you guys, and this is going to sound a little backwards, but hear me out. I overwhelm them. I'm going to go through every automation. I'm going to go through every piece because I want them to be like, holy cow, I A, don't know what I'm doing. B, this guy knows what he's doing. I don't even want to touch this thing. You please do it. Holy cow.
Mm,
And so you can
yeah.
explain to like, yeah, this is what it does. Do you want to see the exact thing? And they're going to say yes. And when you do it, we're going to move this here. This is going to trigger this. Then we're going to add this tag here. It's like, it's like, now listen, this is a little complicated. Does any of that make sense to you? None of it makes sense to you. Great. Let me translate.
Mm,
What you're going to see is
okay.
this. I'm going to send you this. You're going to click this. This is going to be done because the automation is going to take it over. This
Mm.
is how we get you A, B, and C. So, oh, that's what they want to
Oh,
see.
okay, so I should go through like basically because I've customized it to my niche. So I should just go through every automation and just overwhelm him. I was worried about not overwhelming him actually, but that's a good thing.
I would overwhelm them. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Because what they're doing is they're basically saying like, are you full of crap?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
And that's a fair question too. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying like, oh, don't question me. But if you're going to question me, watch this. Like
Yeah,
again, if
yeah.
you talk to a surgeon is really good because they can do two things. They can execute a high level of specialty, and they can communicate what they're doing to a child.
Mm,
That's an expert.
mm,
Now, if you say, "Can I watch a video of somebody performing brain surgery?" You're not gonna know what you're gonna see. Who knows?
yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think also another thing he said was, is this something that I could set up myself? Um, and then
Show
what
him
I
and then
said,
let him pick.
I said to him, I said, if you come to my house and you give me the tool and I ask you for a quote for my garden, for example,
Yeah.
and you just give me the tools, I'm not going to know what I'm going to do, right? It was like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. I said, so this is basically the system. It's kind of like WordPress, for example. You don't know how to build a website on WordPress, but I do.
Yeah.
It's just a tool, basically.
And you can even
So
tell like,
I even mentioned it, go high level.
yeah, I do it
I
all the
said
time.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you
I
can
don't know
tell
why.
them.
Yeah, I was never comfortable with the fact that people white label it. Like that's my software. That's not really your software.
No.
I was that never sat right with me. So I feel so much better now saying like it's actually go high level, but then you explain the concept behind it.
Yeah. And for Mateo, when you connect high level or lead connector to House Call Pro, they don't know how to use Zapier. They don't know how to do webhooks. They don't know how to do Make. They don't know how to do whatever automation that's connecting the two. They don't know how to set it up. They don't know how to do any of that. So I tell people, I'm like, watch this, Adelina, Matt, or Mateo. If I watch, let's go with Adelina first. But Adelina, if I watch a gardener do his whole thing, does that mean that I know exactly what to do and why he did it after watching him one time?
Oh no.
No, Mateo, if I watch an HVAC guy install some equipment, does that mean I watched him once I can do it myself?
No.
No. I did a call with last week. If you came to the private call we did last week where I built out Brian's thing. I built out 75% of his sub account in under 90 minutes. Does it mean that anybody can start and do it in under 90 minutes? No. And I asked him afterwards, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, how long do you think that would have taken you on your own?" He's like, "That would have taken me weeks. I did it in under 90 minutes. Why? Because I live at this desk. I'm like glued to it practically. I'm extremely good at what I do. It's not cockiness, it's conviction. Mateo, I would hope, says, "Hey, if I'm working on your HVAC stuff, I'm good at what I do. That's why I charge what I charge. That's why you pay me
I'm the
what you pay me."
best.
There you go. That's how you should view it. If you're not the best, think about this. If you don't think that you're going to at least do your best, then you should be sending them to somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you believe that you're going to do your best, you should tell them there's nobody else you should come to but me because I full conviction believe I will do the best. I believe I will stay with you until we get you the best results, and I believe that you are better off with me than anybody else.
Yeah.
And think about it. I've never done it before. I have no process. I've never done it before. What do I do? I can't have that conviction. Yes, you can. If you start it, are you gonna make sure you're think about all the perfectionist people? I want it perfect. If you want it perfect, you better effing stay until it's perfect, right? Now, that might take you 3 months. Then you stay for 3 months and you make it perfect. I had a guy message me the other day. He goes, "Oh, a client reached out to me and he asked me when he's going to get the deliverable that he paid for." And I'm like, "That's weird." I go, "Did he pay for it?" He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "When did he pay for it?" He goes, "3 months ago." I'm like, "And you didn't give him what you said you were going to give him?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "You're wrong." I told him, I'm like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing, dude?" I'm like, "You got to unwedge your head from the sand." I'm like, "What are you doing?" Somebody paid you for something. You didn't give it to him 3 months later. They're following up with you. You're not the other way around. I'm like, "That's unprofessional." What kind of man are you? I'm like, "You got to man up and fix that stuff." No conviction that you're going to do the best. So if you truly believe I will do the best, I don't care how little or we're not doing brain surgery, right? Because again, in brain surgery, do you have the conviction you can do the best? No, go to a brain surgeon. Filing your taxes? No, go to a CPA. Building a back end system that's going to make you a filthy amount of money? You better come right here. Only thing about going over there, I had a post. Omar saw the post. This lady was like, "I'm going to go speak with a systems person, and what should I ask them?" Go look at the comments in that post. I didn't read them after I posted, but everything before me was trash. And I commented, I said, "This is what we do. Here's all the things you need to check. If they don't answer these perfectly, ditch them, come to me. Here's the whole process we go through." And guess who's DMing me? It's conviction. Now you talk about marketing, I'm out of there. You talk about funnel design, I'm out of there. You talk about back end systems, I'm like, move. Oh, we've done it for, I don't care. Move. Like, let's go toe to toe. That's fine. Because I know that's where I'm good. Mateo's not gonna be like, "Hey, I'll do your carpentry." It's HVAC. He's gonna be like, "No, no, no, I'm in. Let's go." So that's the fun part. You can be convicted about one thing. The people who are like, "Oh, I can do everything." Think about all the VAs. I'm not saying it's bad to be a VA, but think about all the VAs who do that. I can do this. 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 It's like, get away. It's too much. There's no way you're the perfect best at all of that stuff. And if you were, why don't you have your own business? Crickets, right?
Yeah. This conviction, that's very true. You have to kind of believe in what you're offering them. But like, how would you kind of deal with this objection if they do say, like this guy, when he's saying, he's basically saying, I think for me, I should go through the ads route and bring in traffic because I don't think that I've got enough numbers. Like even the numbers that he's
What are
given
his
me, I
numbers?
mean, to me, it doesn't look too bad. Like 20 leads and he's closed 10.
Which
But
yeah, but he
like,
has 10 and they're at 20K. Yeah, it's not a lead count at you want to look at frequency times ticket.
yeah,
So if I have think about how many people are shopping for a hairbrush, probably
mm,
100, 200,000 a month, right? How
mm,
much is a hairbrush? Five,
yeah,
six
like,
dollars.
yeah,
Now flip it. I've got 10 leads, $20,000.
mm,
That's
yeah,
200, that's $200,000 in potential leads, right?
yeah. Because he's closed 50%. But like I said, 75% are from gardeners. So yeah, I see what you mean. Like with the why, I need to get to the why he doesn't want to stick with designers and go on his own through
And
different
I wouldn't
avenues.
even go too far into that because then you're going too far into what you should be doing if they pay you. I
Mm,
would be going into more so, okay, this is something that we can look at when we're working together in terms of where your best leads are coming from, what the best avenues to work on that. So, for example, if we're working together, then I would say, well, are they sending you good quality leads? And what is the client acquisition cost? Because you might say, I don't want to give them $1,000, but when we go to run ads, you might be like, holy cow, $1,000 is nothing compared to ads where I'm spending 2,000, 3,000, right?
Mm,
So we
mm,
don't know until we know. That's where the data comes into play.
mm.
And
Okay.
also, as you're getting more reviews, that lead number from 20 a month is going to go from 20 to 22 to 25 to 30
Mm,
to 35, right?
yeah, yeah.
I got a client doing about projected 50, it's between 15 and 20 million. They get 30 to
Wow.
60 leads a month. That's it.
Yeah.
Why? It's because the ticket price is disgusting. But we're going to get it to where they're getting a consistent amount at the higher end.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of seeing why this guy has a few objections, like why he wants to see visually see like the automations and the fact that he wants to see how he's going to get his money back using the minimal numbers that he does have.
If I get
But
you one lead, so 2K, 3K, I get you one lead at 20K, that would give you a return of this percentage of $17,000. That's a
yeah,
one time. This is going to be set up for month every single month. And that's a one time thing. After
yeah,
that,
yeah,
it's going to be 500 a month.
yeah,
So if we get you one client a month, even if we get you one client every 3 months,
yeah. That's what I said actually. One client in 3 months. Yeah,
you're giving me 1,500. I'm giving you 20,000 back.
yeah, yeah. It's it's good to kind of know. I'm making a note of these objections as I'm going along. Um, I'm being very nerdy, but I actually plan on going to the library and just printing off like
Yeah.
yeah, literally just read it every night.
Top
I'm
top
very
copywriters, they write every day. They write every day. Top copywriters, they write by hand.
yeah,
And they write they say the first thing you should do if you learn in copywriting is they say print out all the direct print media,
mm,
rewrite it every night before bed, 100 times, 200 times.
yeah.
If you go
Eventually it
to
just clicks.
it sits in your subconscious and then it's just things that you can refer back to.
Yeah,
For me, I just
yeah,
I have like a very freaky memory, so I'm very lucky that way, but it's from constant repetition. But also like think about it, you want to put yourself in their shoes. That's my favorite sales technique is put themselves and like people talk about this all the time. I'm not saying like how can I get them to believe me? I'm thinking like would I buy this deal if I were in their shoes? So there's been times on a call where I'm like, "Hey, you don't need this." Because if I were in your position, I wouldn't pay for this. And they'll look at me like, "What do you mean?" Like well, I did this the other day, 5 minutes into a call. You don't need this. This was
mm,
like back in December. I said, "You don't need this." He's like, his eyes got all big. He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You have 80% of what we're doing. You don't need a full build." I was like, I could come in and clean it for about 4K, but I was like, or I could just tell you in a video what to fix for 200 bucks and you do it yourself. He's like, oh, let's just do that. Done, closed. 200 bucks, 30 minutes, went out, got a nice dinner that night. There you go.
yeah.
Sometimes they
Sometimes
don't,
you can't be too attached, I guess, like
but
trying to force it. You just have
if
to
I
be
force
tell
him to
them the
do
truth.
it, yeah, if I force him to do it, what's going to happen? That's not, do you think he's going to be someone to introduce me to another high quality
Yeah,
guy? No, because he's going to be like,
exactly.
nah, this dude scammed me out of 20K.
Exactly, yeah.
But if he's like, no, this guy, he's actually, I actually trusted him because he actually downsold himself.
Yeah. I have a lot of people on the phone that I speak to. They say like, I've had a bad experience with like marketing agencies. Um, like I think Matteo said the other earlier on when he said they promised me the world. I've heard that so many times
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, but they appreciate honesty and integrity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A guy I spoke to earlier, by the way, he owns a landscaping business, but he doesn't. He said that my system doesn't work for him because it's a different concept basically. But what he said to me was, he was like, "This system, I've never heard of it before, but it's absolutely great." And he said, "I know landscapers would love this." And I said, "Do you know anyone?" And he was like, "I might do, but it's really good." He said, "I've not heard of it before." So that's where it got me
It gets
thinking,
better. It gets
actually,
better. Yeah.
yeah, it just get better and better.
When you ask for your
So yeah.
referrals, I want you to challenge people too.
Mm,
Like, I want you to be like pessimistic. Like, if I'm
mm,
like, Adelina, would you mind I don't know, sending me the name of a Chinese restaurant that you love going to, because my wife is really craving Chinese tonight, versus, man, I'm craving Chinese and I have not heard of a single good recommendation lately. Oh, I know, I know. That's what
Mm,
happens. Just, you can challenge them. There's a lady who, I can't remember, she has a web design agency in San Francisco, I think. And she does this interview and she's like, they do about 50,000 a month. And she's like, all we do is we just run referrals. And she said, what we do is we build the website. 3 months later, we send out a referral email request. And all we do is we just challenge them. And she said, she puts it in a negative format. You wouldn't happen to know. There's no way you know. You couldn't possibly imagine one other person that could benefit from this, would you? I know, I know. And they do. She's like, she's like, that's how we make all of our money. Just that one email. And we make 50,000 a month off of that.
mm. Wow, it's very powerful.
Yeah, she was a really cool way she explained. She was explaining. She was one of the first people. I know I've never spoken to her directly, but watching her interview, she was one of the first people that got me thinking systems because she said she got pregnant, and I think when she had her baby, she took 6 months off, and she was like, "We didn't fail, we didn't stall out." She said, "We actually grew," and she
Wow.
was like, They grew because they used her systems that she put in place so she could go have her kid."
Mm. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, she did the whole thing organically through introductions. One, like Grant was saying, once you get to a certain level, it's all through introductions.
Mm.
And then the
Yeah.
book to read for everybody is Ultimate Sales Machine. Read that book for sales. That should be your Bible for outbound sales.
Yeah.
That
I've
book is like,
started reading that. It's very good.
yeah, very, very good. That book is very, it'll like make you realize that reaching out to people incessantly is actually not as pushy as you think it might be.
Mm. Yeah, there's just so much to learn. Like never
It'll
ending.
never stop feeling like that. And I'll say this and then we'll wrap up. I used to think, this is gonna sound really, really bad. This is gonna sound really bad. Just hear me out, right? That's like the phrase of the day. For a lot of people will say, you're going to see this too as you start growing your business and you start going well. People are going to say, wow, you did this overnight. You got lucky. You made it because of this, this, and this, right? You made it because you're a man. You made it because you're a woman. You made it because you're white. You made it because you're black. You made it because you're this religion. You made it because of whatever reason, right? They'll always try to denigrate and downgrade your accomplishments, or they'll try to minimize how you accomplish them, right? What I have found is that the people who are not making it, 80% of the people who are not making it, have zero self-reflection. So, for example, why isn't Alec making $1 million a month? And again, this is gonna sound like so like corny, but just hear me out. Alec is not making 1 million a month because Alec does not possess the skills and knowledge to make 1 million a month. That's it. That is it. If you're not making 1,000 a month, you do not yet possess the skills, knowledge. You are not the person who has the ability to make 1,000 a month. That's it. It's not to put you down at all. It's to make you realize, oh, it's actually better. Now, if you have a victim mentality, you're going to say, well, I can't do it because of excuse, excuse, excuse. And again, 20% of the time, they're good excuses. 80%, they're not. 20% of the time, I'm talking about like single mom working 3 jobs. That's a good excuse. I have a severe crippling disability. That's a pretty good excuse for not being a marathon runner, right? That's a good excuse. But 80% of the time, it's a crap excuse. So if you're like, well, and this is the good part. If I can acknowledge that I'm not who I need to be to achieve what I want to achieve, what do I fix? I can only change two things. I can change what I want to achieve, or I can change who I am, so I can achieve what I want to achieve. So when you're saying for Adelina, when you're saying like there's so much to learn, how exciting! Because the more you
Mm.
learn, the more you become capable to earn more.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
it's a matter of learning and reflection will lead to earning more. So it's not only like you were saying, it's like learn, do, and that will have it set in and sink in, and you'll be able to reflect on that and then learn more, do more. Now,
Yeah.
the people who do and never learn go nowhere. I'm doing all the wrong stuff. Duh, but I'm doing a lot. It's the wrong thing. If I'm going east the whole drive and I'm supposed to be going west, I'm not getting to my destination, right? When I put it
Mm.
in a car analogy, it's like, duh. But when you talk to entrepreneurs who are like, but I keep pushing this outdated thing, you're driving east, you want to go west. That doesn't make sense, right? So
Yeah.
when you're able to uh, if you're just doing and not learning, you're going to go the wrong way. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to become that person who's like, I'm super efficient, not at all effective. If you
Mm,
are learning and never doing, you're a library and you actually have no knowledge whatsoever.
mm.
You have no knowledge because all you know is hypothetical, theoretical.
Yeah,
Who's
is
who,
that
who's more in shape? The guy who knows every workout routine ever and studies the best, or the guy who's working out? And who's more in shape? The guy who learns the best routines and applies them and it works, or the guy who just goes to the gym and does the same thing every day?
Mm,
It's like, oh, the person who's not doing is going nowhere. They're just learning. It's not doing anything because they're too afraid to go in the gym and pick up the weight. The person who's picking up the weight and not learning is too cocky and too prideful to admit there could be a better way. And the person who's constantly learning, tweaking, improving, and doing the work, they're going the furthest. Go look at Olympic athletes, go look at the top athletes. They say the number one thing that separates the best of the best athlete from a good athlete, even in the NBA, good athlete versus like the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James, right? They say it's the willingness to do the boring thing every single day. Shooting your 500 free throws, right? Going to the gym and doing your warm up. The things that you feel are boring, they don't stimulate your brain, but they are boring and they're necessary.
mhm.
So we'll go ahead and wrap up. I love these long calls. I want to make sure uh, Grant and I are hitting out this DBR that we just put together. But the best thing I can tell you guys is like learn and do. There's no learning without doing. And if you are doing things and not learning, then you're going to be spinning in circles and you're going to go crazy. Learn and do. Talk with your people. You guys have questions? Shoot me a DM, shoot me a group, a message, or a post in the group. But appreciate you guys coming out and staying so long. Appreciate you guys asking questions. Like I said, anything you guys need, don't hesitate. All right.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Have a good one, guys. See ya.
See you later.
Bye.